After a long and arduous weekend of competitive StarCraft action, 2 men remain to fight for the title of WCS champion here in Leipzig, Germany, as we await our grand finals. Welcome back. This is the World Championship Series. I'm your host, Nathanius, joined in our grand final pre-match by Todd and Zombie Grub. We have had a long tournament, a lot of amazing games, but it all comes down to this.
A European finals. Finland against Germany, with 2 of the best. I mean, honestly, like, we even looking at this top 4, I think a lot of people agree that this was one of the best top 4 possible. There couldn't have been a better one. Perfect racial distribution. 2 Protosses. But yeah, all 3 races represented, and yeah, it's really cool to see these guys getting to this level, because I feel like it was just long overdue. You know, Neeb was stealing all the spotlight last year, and now that time has kind of come to an end, and we're gonna have a new champion.
Yeah, we are. I mean, too bad for NA, European finals. That's fine, that's cool. It's actually a great PvZ upcoming, so yeah. I'm not too sour.
We know players like Neeb will be back. We know we'll see players like a Laser especially as well moving forward throughout the rest of the year. Let's take another look at the brackets, catch y'all up to speed on how we got here. We had many a game played between today and yesterday, going through the entirety of the round of 16 all the way here, but it is now ShoWTimE going up against Serral. ShoWTimE defeated the 3-time champion Neeb, and Serral defeated the best foreign runner we had at the World Finals last year. There's been a lot of games played to get us to this point, but we do have a nice little recap video for you on the road to the finals.
Feels amazing to be in the finals. Feels very rewarding for all the hard work.
It feels really good to be in the finals again. It's been a long time since I've been in the finals the last time, and I'm ready to take it up.
Two amazing competitors fighting to get the first title of the year. This is the World Championship Series, and it is going to be an amazing PvZ, as you said. Germany versus Finland. ShoWTimE going up against Serral. Serral, the player that we've been talking up for a long time. He's no stranger to the finals, but looking for that big championship against ShoWTimE, who's, well, his championships, they date a little bit further back for him. It's been a while. Both
of them, I think, will have a bit of a chip on their shoulders. Serral last year was stopped in the grand finals by Neeb. And ShoWTimE, like you say, it's been a while since he's had a lot of success in those WCS tournaments. So now, having made the grand finals in his home country, he's got the audience on his side. I think it's a good opportunity for him here to remind everybody that he's one of the absolute best out there, and that last year was just a fluke.
Last year might have been a fluke for ShoWTimE, and I think he's going to have a very good 2018. But Serral is just, he's been like a whiz kid for the past year, you know? He's always been the next best. He's the European Neeb. I think it's his time to shine at these finals.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing to watch the dynamic of these players, as Serral has been that player that has been talked up so much, and his ZVP has looked really good. We've seen time and time again when people talk about who's coming up, who's going to be the big people to watch out for, those Team Liquid power rankings that everybody was looking at before the tournament. Serral, his name has been at the top of so many lists. Yeah, definitely, and I mean, they're very well matched up as well, as you would expect. Historically, it's 12 and 10 in ShoWTimE's favor, 25-24 in maps. So looking at the stats, I feel like a 4-3 might be in order. Picking a favorite is kind of hard, though, because they've both been playing so well. And it's also a matchup at which they both excel quite a bit. So hoping for a 4-3 either way.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a 4-3 and I expect a 4-3. It's just so closely matched. Germany cheering for ShoWTimE, and then Serral, just everyone's expecting him to take a championship, and this could be it.
as much of a slugfest as anybody could ask for. And I feel it's important. I love that you brought it up as well. It's so cool to see ShoWTimE doing so well in his home country here. The crowd, that energy has to be such a lift. And how amazing would it be for a German player to take home the trophy here in Leipzig to kick the year off?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think this is any player's dream, not just to have success in a tournament, but in your home country as well. I think Nib last year in Austin, he loved it. People were chanting Nib. They were doing that sound, you know, that sounds like wind. They were like, Nib, Nib. Still quite loved it. They were nibbing. And now it's time to ShoWTimE, I guess.
It is, as they would say, ShoWTimE. And with that being said, let us introduce our players, our grand finalists on the stage, with Anna Prosser-Robinson ready to show you the amazing champions that we'll be crowning in just a few moments.
Here at WCS Leipzig, it all comes down to this. This is your final match. It will be Europe versus Europe. It will be Protoss versus Zerg. Are you ready to meet your players? Please welcome Serral and ShoWTimE!
The time has come to crown the first StarCraft 2 champion of 2018. A Protoss versus Zerg for the ages. Two players very hungry for a title, not claiming those trophies last year, but a new champion of WCS will be crowned today. And it is going to be one hell of a match.
It definitely will be. We saw both of them already in the matchup, what they can do. ShoWTimE, we know what to expect, you know, the Stargates, solid transitions and all that. He had a lot of success already in the matchup in the tournament, despite the very close 3-2 against Namshar. Whenever he lost, you know, it almost felt like it was a fluke, like there was one link flawed and then one other game that was kind of weird, but then he 3-0 through so convincingly. And although like Serral, he's a master at the late game. When you have to go into Hive and all that, ShoWTimE showed that against early game compositions and even like in the mid game, it's very hard to break him. But in the late game, he's also very, very good, you know, at getting a Mothership, Carriers, Tempest, Void Race, and all that. So for Serral to win here, he's gonna have to be on point and perhaps use some Hydras and Lurkers to some good effect in the mid game to set him up very well for the late game. Because I think if he plays aggressive early game, it's going to be very hard for him to break somebody as solid as ShoWTimE.
ShoWTimE is really solid, but I'm glad he brought up that Namshar series because there were some weaknesses, and I think that Serral is a bit of a different beast. You know, no discredit to Namshar, but Serral just looks so good in almost every match because he's confident in every matchup. But man, that intro actually got a little bit. I got chills watching ShoWTimE go down to the German crowd. That's really going to help him.
Yeah, the passion and the energy is alive here in Leipzig. We thank all of you who came out here to watch this tournament live and those of you watching online. And cheering your players on in the Twitch chat. The excitement has been felt all over the world. And it's these series, the way that these players go up against each other, the matchups that they've played to get here have been exciting to watch. We've seen the range out of Serral even in just that last match. We've seen the early attacks. We've seen him we saw him take special to the late game. And we saw ShoWTimE's tenacity holding on against those early pushes in his series that we had even in the first day of this tournament.
Serral had more content to study as well, because in that bracket, ShoWTimE played against 2 Zergs, whereas Serral, he didn't play against a single Protoss. So definitely he has looked at those games and he has drawn some conclusions from those games. But what conclusions, really? Like I say, it's very hard. You need to pick where you're going to act the most, whether it's early, mid, or late game. And against Serral, he's known for his longer games and how good he is in those. But so is ShoWTimE. I want to see a little bit of everything, you know, like both players trying to act on early sometimes, trying to see what they can make happen. The first game is going to be very important to try and set up the pace. And remember, we're in the best of 7 situation, so the maps that we wouldn't usually see here in the PvZ, we might be able to see them here.
That's an exciting part of it. All of the maps could potentially be played. I think everyone's expecting a 4-3. I want to see a little bit of everything as well. I do find it hard to find ShoWTimE's weaknesses, but he did find Special's weaknesses. He had the same amount of content that his opponent didn't quite have to take on Special, and he really used it quite well, so perhaps he has the same thing versus ShoWTimE.
I've really enjoyed, personally, seeing the new maps that have been brought out and for this most recent ladder season, as we've had them all for this tournament. The players didn't get to practice on them maybe for as long of a period of time as some other tournaments. But I want to ask you, what stands out to you, too, from what we've seen out of these maps? Do you have a favorite map? Some of your maybe a favorite game on these new maps?
The lack of complaints kind of surprises me, because usually you got a new map pool, people are like, oh my god, these maps are terrible. And then months later, they're like, actually, they were fine. We're just terrible at them. And right now, the new maps just came into effect, and people are not really complaining, so I guess they're fine with them.
All right, well, let's find out who the first champion of the World Championship Series in 2018 will be. It is time for your grand final. It is time for ShoWTimE versus Serral.
Let's get into the grand final with my man Rotterdam. This PvZ Clash of Titans is gonna be huge.
It is going to be awesome, and I hope that Johan is right. I hope that we are going to see all 7 maps. But to kick things off, we're gonna get started on Neon Violet Square, as we're looking at the main base of the man who I believe is quite popular here, representing Arma Team. Give it up for ShoWTimE.
What a lovely crowd here for this grand final, and well-deserved in the bottom right here. The Finnish Zerg. Give it up for Serral!
I'm really curious about the styles as well, like Johan said. Would be cool to see a little bit of everything, right? We haven't really seen anybody attempted to truly cheese ShoWTimE. I would like to see a proxy hatchery once. I would like to see maybe a link flood, even though Nemcha did go for 1 link flood on the Catalyst. Actually worked out.
Yeah, it worked out for him, yeah.
But perhaps ShoWTimE looked at that game as well and be like, with a couple of changes, to my build, that would never happen again. Overall, I just think there is one thing where Serral really sets himself apart from all the other Zergs that fell against ShoWTimE. Because ShoWTimE looked damn good in this matchup, but Serral is the guy that always has a couple links running around. He will spot anything that makes its way to the other side of the map. He will not hesitate to go for those very fast layers to drop that Hydra then as quickly as possible. And the number one thing we've seen out of ShoWTimE is obviously Oracle, sometimes double Oracle Phoenix, Oracle Phoenix, Oracle. That's all fine, that's kind of a given, but after that we see a pretty serious investment in Zealots and Archons. And ShoWTimE has done a lot of damage with those builds against almost every Zerg that he went up against, but can he get the same success against Serral? I kind of doubt it, because I really feel that Serral is just more on point with everything. He will not make those Hydras too late, and if the Hydras are in place for that first big War Prison play, it's going to be tough for ShoWTimE to find any sort of success.
Yeah, I remember that on this very map, actually, ShoWTimE's first Zealot or Charge Lock pressure with the Archon. Like, it was meant to be pressure, and it actually straight up killed Namsha. But of course, Namsha is missing units and that sort of thing, and that's kind of mistakes that we're not expecting Serral to make. He is a next level Zerg here in Europe. Certainly contender for the best Zerg in the region for quite a while here. And ShoWTimE's PvZ record cannot be understated. It's incredible. I wish my ladder stats looked anything like that. But Serral's even more impressive. What a win rate versus Protoss. But of course, his losses have only been versus ShoWTimE.
So we do get Overlord speed being researched very, very early. So that scouting that I mentioned is not just going to be done with Zerglings. He's going to keep a very close eye on the main base of ShoWTimE as well. That does, of course, mean that the layer is going to be a tiny bit later. It is not a massive delay, but perhaps ShoWTimE is going to be quite pleased with it and feel, well, I was already thinking I was going to get some success with my Prism. Perhaps I can do a little more now.
Yes, indeed. And it's not shocking at all to see this opening for both players. Overlord speed from Serral, a nice safety. Gonna see everything, going to not get caught with my pants down by any tech here from the Protoss. But honestly, ShoWTimE is going to be going for Stargate more than often, double Oracle, Adept, or whatever it happens to be. But it is, at this point, going straight into Phoenix to get rid of those pesky Overlords.
Yeah, but since it's Overlord speed as well, even a single Phoenix is going to have a hard time chasing down 2-3 Overlords. Now, ShoWTimE does like to mix it up as well. Very often we see the Robo go down, as we do see it down, obviously after the Stargate, as he pretty much always does. But at least once a series, he sometimes likes to skip out on the Robo and just go for 6 or 7 gateways and march across the map with a lot of adepts. And that is one of those things that you need to scout immediately.
And we have the Spore sort of on the right side of the mineral line here, so it's not taking shots at that Oracle. The Oracle does find a bit of drone damage and gets out of dodge. Doesn't lose the Oracle, of course. This is ShoWTimE we're talking about after all. And the Overlords are starting to get cleaned up slowly. We see Serral going for Lair here. No Baneling Nest just yet.
No, I don't think you need a Baneling Nest that early. I think you want to get those layers out as quickly as possible. It's really all about the Hydras in this day and age, unless you want to go for an early game all-in. But I think ShoWTimE is very happy with 3 drones. There was a time, of course, where we would often celebrate 5 kills, 5 or even 6 or even 7 kills. That doesn't happen anymore, but very often Oracle gets a single drone kill, max 2, but getting 3 this early on, that's a nice way to start your grand finals.
Certainly is. Serral, though, replenishing those drones, but doing nothing but. He's only producing drones out of the lava, getting his gas saturation and starting to tech on up as that Hydra Den drops down. ShoWTimE doing the same thing back on the other side, though. He is going for your regular sort of charge lot Archon build with Storm down the pipeline for him as he takes his 3rd Nexus.
Yeah, so this is going to be a real reality check, right, for both players. Are Serral's Hydras going to be in time? Can ShoWTimE get some damage done with the Archons and the Zealots? How many Zealots are we going to have? I don't think he has charge yet, right?
No, I don't think so.
So he's just gonna... Okay, well, is he just gonna wipe in a couple of Adepts, maybe just 2 Adepts and try to do some economic damage?
Yeah, I mean, Zealots without charge are gonna make 0 sense here, so Adepts certainly could be on the cards. There's that Templar Archives getting scouted from Serral. He also sees the back Nexus there being taken from ShoWTimE. Plenty of gas income, not much mineral income, but gas is really what he needs for this kind of unit comp.
So it's cool to see ShoWTimE already switching it up. Almost every single game that we've seen out of him, it is this Archon opening, but then he also wipes in quite a few Zealots, often has charge with it as well. And it feels like right now he's only going to try to harass a little bit with this Warp Prism, with these Archons. He's going to get a Hydra here for his efforts. Not sure if he can get much more. I love that Serral isn't just A-moving with the Zerglings, because you don't want to end up losing your links. ShoWTimE is playing a dangerous game here, as that Prism takes a lot of damage, but it will live for now.
It does live, and that's all that matters here for ShoWTimE. Gonna have to recharge some shields if he wants to get anywhere near the front lines here with this Prism. Trying to catch some of these Lings from Serral, the Oracle on the chase as well. Serral doesn't look like he's gonna find too much of an opening here with these Lings. He's just sort of skirting around the outside, seeing what's up, keeping him honest, spreading his creep, taking the 4th down here at the front by the looks of things.
Yeah, I mean, at least ShoWTimE did a decent job this game in keeping the drone count low for Serral for as long as possible. Of course, at this point, with the Hydras out, Serral is going to have quite a bit of freedom. He will be able to go up to 70 or even 80 drones if that's what he would like to do. But ShoWTimE on the other side of the map has this Stasis will trick to Zerglings.
Luckily, your first 2 Zerglings were part of the pack there, so... And the real scary thing for these Archons, though, is not those Zerglings. It is the pack of Hydras that are roaming around for Serral, being very vigilant, keeping his eyes on this Prism and making sure it doesn't find an opening into his infrastructure here, not losing any drones or anything like that to the Prism harass just yet.
But Neon Violet Square is, of course, quite a big map, Maynard, and it means that it's going to be hard for Serral to run across the map with Hydras and Lurkers, as we do see that Lurker Den has been thrown down as well. We saw Elaser have some success with multi-prong attacks on this map and definitely put ShoWTimE on the ropes, but ShoWTimE never went over the ropes. He never got, you know, that KO blow delivered to himself. He was able to stabilize, and I actually think, since ShoWTimE didn't waste Zealots at all, that this has been a pretty clean opening for our German Protoss. He is falling behind economically, and I'm a tiny bit surprised to not see him building probes yet, because you kind of want to have those probes ready as soon as that 4th Nexus is done, so you can saturate his mineral line.
Bit of pressure here from Serral with the Hydras and the Lings helping him up, but that is way too much Protoss on the dance floor. He has to get on out of there. The 4th Nexus will go up without too much pressure from Serral at all. He's deflected quite easily here. Storm is done for ShoWTimE. Bunch of high tempo as well, just in case things get dicey, but he shouldn't need Storm here.
I like the positioning of these Hydras. That was a free Archon there for Serral, didn't lose much. ShoWTimE is still only at those 59 probes. Only now we see finally some additional probes being built. Of course, that Nexus wasn't done yet, but it will finish up real soon. And I kind of feel that perhaps ShoWTimE showed a little bit too much respect there for Serral, because I think he could have been, 12 workers further ahead than he actually is.
He is banking a ton of Storm energy right now with lots and lots of High Templar being warped in. He's getting +2 attacks only halfway through, dropping static defense, trying to help out these bases as he will need to move across the map shortly. Stop the Zerg from spiraling out of control, which Serral absolutely is. Infestation Pit on the way, Hive Tech in the pipeline for Serral, and the Lurkers are hitting the ground. So let's see what Serral can get done here. It looks like he's got his sights set on that 4th Nexus again.
Yeah, but that's a very well-protected area with multiple cannons, with a shield battery or 2 as well. 5 Dropper Lords on the way for Serral, and I was kind of wondering, I was about to ask, are we going to see some of that mass drop play out of our Finnish Zerg as well? We saw a couple of the other Zergs try to do it, and often with quite some success. I mean, Namchar really found a couple of good openings with it. I think it makes a lot of sense, because for Serral to run into those cannons and the shield batteries, I don't think that's going to be good enough.
ShoWTimE's tagged all the units here by the rocks, but has not tagged the Lurkers here, so they can potentially do a lot of damage. Oh, they're actually in detection range of these cannons, and they do get tagged in the end there, but still a very tough position for ShoWTimE to get into.
Yeah, it's kind of an awkward position, right? Because it's hard for ShoWTimE to go down the ramp, but it would be very tough for Serral to go up the ramp. He looked at that wall up and he's like, nah, I probably shouldn't stand here because I'm just going to eat storms for days. You mentioned it as well. ShoWTimE has been banking up a lot of storm energy. But it will all come down to this drop play. Another revelation is going to reveal this army a little bit longer. Serral doesn't care anymore. He's going to pick up a lot of his units, going to fly towards the main. ShoWTimE could potentially recall, but he is just going to try to deal with this with a couple of Zealots and Archons.
He's going to see what he can get done here. If he can pick up a few of these Overlords, that would be quite nice. His army is still holding fast, the majority of it down there at that 4th Nexus. Does ShoWTimE have enough here? It looks like he does. Storms and Serral decides to take the better part of Valor.
Well, Serral not willing to commit just yet. He's going to try something here at this 4th base. But all the Archons are still here. All the Immortals are here. Multiple Storms available as well. And Serral looks at it and he's like, nope, not today.
Yeah. He's going to have to lick his wounds here. He's not really finding an opening in this crazy German Protoss defense. He's going to go up into Hive, going to probably get Digging Claws for the Lurkers and start a Greater Spire as soon as that main Spire is finished. Those are great tools to getting the job done in late game ZVP. And we'll see if ShoWTimE lets it get here because he is approaching Max Rotterdam. He's getting a fleet beacon as well.
Yep.
And this army is getting very scary.
That's one of the upsides, right, of opening up with that Stargate. You always have a Stargate out on the map. So the moment you feel like you need to get ready for Tempest, you don't have to wait until your Stargate is done because you already have it of the early game as well. One more reason why I'm sure that ShoWTimE loves this opening quite a bit. We do have those Digging Claws on the way as well, but I think they're both playing very cautious. Can we take a look at the amount of units that have died so far in this game? You can see it's really not much, right? 3 Hydras, a single Lurker, 2 Queens, 19 Zealots, only 2 Zealots and an Archon for ShoWTimE. A very cautious start to this Grand Finals.
Indeed, and he's utilizing this high ground here to try and get some free damage done on Serral. He does find a little bit. Charge Lot warp in on the north, looking for that 3rd hatchery mineral line, and they may get it. Serral is breaking up his army very smartly, though. He should be able to defend this 3rd hatchery. Plenty of units heading over there.
Yeah, here's a couple of Zerglings to buy a little bit of time. Now the Hydras are going to show up. So it's all right. ShoWTimE is going to dare to step on creep for pretty much the first time in this game, and he's going to push these creep tumors back a little bit further as well. Running into Lurkers is going to be very hard. Running into this army with Lurkers can also be quite hard, but he does have Digging Claws.
He certainly does, and he has some units on the north as well, and might go for a bit of a sandwich here. The Lynx are getting massive surrounds. The damage output of this Terranov, this Protoss army is huge, but the Lurker splash damage and the Hydra DPS, he cleans up ShoWTimE, and he still has units left over to deal with the counter harass.
Wow. I did not expect that Protoss army to disappear the way it did. Lots of Archons, lots of Immortals, plenty of Storms, but that is the power of the new upgrade for the Lurker. Digging Claws really makes it possible to just run into a Protoss army and make some magic happen. And I mean, ShoWTimE did a phenomenal job in keeping all of his units alive for the majority of this game, and in the blink of an eye, he lost very, very expensive units.
Well, ShoWTimE is not done yet. He hasn't taken any critical blows, and he is able to power up to that Sky army, the Skytoss army. The carriers are getting out. The Mothership is on the way. Air upgrade starting. The Graviton Catapult coming out for the Interceptor release speed. ShoWTimE is going to have a very scary late-game Skytoss force. But Serral does kind of own the map right now. He hasn't been able to find any effective harassment with these Zealots.
I would have liked to see Serral perhaps try to do a little more after he just cleaned up that army. That was a hard army to replace, and ShoWTimE didn't even really want to replace it anymore as he's getting ready for those carriers. The longer Serral waits, the less that big fight in the middle of the map happened. But now we do have that big drop play once again, but the carriers are here, and I don't think that's enough anti-air unless the focus fire isn't there.
Is it though? I mean, these Hydras are still doing quite a bit. No mobile detection though, so the Mothership coming out clutch here for ShoWTimE, and he's going to be able to clean this up.
Yep, and that's quite an expensive loss for Serral as well. At the same time, he does get closer towards this fort base. Lurkers are in range, and the carriers are still busy in the main base. So this is kind of an awkward moment for ShoWTimE, but as long as he keeps the Nexus alive, it's going to be fine.
These Hydras getting quite squishy, and they are the meat wall between these Lurkers and the Protoss charge lots. Oh, the carriers are picking off this air army, but the Mothership does go down and he'll have to replenish that. Very important to do that. Does finally clean up the Lurkers, but looks like ShoWTimE lost a little bit more than I thought.
Yep, ShoWTimE did lose quite a bit, and don't forget about that Corruptor count. I believe we're going to have like 15 or so Corruptors on the map soon. We already have 8. There's like 10 more on the way, 11 even. That's close to 20 Corruptors. ShoWTimE knows that, yes, carriers are fantastic, but if carriers are exposed, they can get sniped quite quickly by these Corruptors. So you need either Archons below them, but that's not always possible. So he's going to add a couple Void Rays as well, which I think is a very smart decision.
Yeah, definitely the anti-corruptor capabilities of the Void Ray are quite nice. The charge lots find an opening though, and this hatchery is getting quite low rotted down. These +3 zealots doing a lot of damage. Serral just holds on though. The hatchery lives with 40 hit points.
Yeah, that's quite ridiculous. Now this is going to be a very important moment in this game. There are a few Void Rays out. Can these Corruptors find some carriers that are exposed? They will spot that Void Ray, and obviously Void Rays are great, but not one Void Ray against an army of Corruptors. This is going to be a crucial fight. Couple Stalkers being wiped in as well on the ground to help out. One carrier is going to get sniped, and this is very nice. This is exactly what Serral wants.
Big pick off there. The carriers are so expensive. In fact, once he cleans up the air army, he can actually deal with these Nexi as well. There's not a ton of anti-air. These Archons are quite scary though, so he pulls back with those Corruptors, waits for his ground army to be available as well. The Prism in trouble is going to get taken out. Oh, no, he's not target firing it.
Well, that's a nice little breakdown for ShoWTimE. The Zealots were going to take their life for ire, but they will keep that Prism alive, which is, of course, a trade that ShoWTimE is willing to live with. He's like, okay, now I want to take care of those Hydras once and for all as well. The Corruptors on the bottom side, once again, getting close. It's hard to run into, okay, the 5th base, I think that's a forfeit. There's no way. This is an interesting dance though, but every second that goes by is a very good second for ShoWTimE.
Serral is doing some of the pre-4.0 options for the SkyToss army, and that is getting Neural Parasite here. Let's see if this comes into play for the finish, Zerg, as the game goes forward. Corruptors looking for another free carrier, but they're not going to find it for free at all. ShoWTimE doing a ton of damage to these Corruptors.
Yeah, that was the opposite of free. Well done there by the Archons, getting a couple of very good hits off. I would love to see Serral use his Corruptors in the main base, start using Caustic Spray on a few of those Stargates, as ShoWTimE is going to run into these Lurkers.
The Infestors as well! Oh no! He doesn't actually have Burrow either. The Infestors are sitting here ducks. They're just getting taken out. Fungals do slow down ShoWTimE, but at the cost of a few of their lives.
Oh, it was a good move there by ShoWTimE, just going for those Lurkers, knowing that the Corruptors were out of position. And Serral, I think he forgot about his Infestors for a split second there. The Neuro is done. I'm not sure if we have a lot of observers with that army. That would be very important to keep an eye on.
Yeah, but Burrow, though, he still needs that with the Infestors if he wants to enhance their survivability.
Yeah, there's actually 2 Infestors in the middle of this pack as well. ShoWTime's army is looking mighty fine. I really believe that ShoWTimE has survived the scariest phase in this game. He has survived as well after he lost a couple of Immortals and Archons. And this is a tough fight to take for Serral.
Well, he's going to try it. The Corruptors coming forward. Storms and splash damage here from ShoWTimE plenty. Massive storms going down on the Link Force with the Archons tanking in front. He neurals 3 of these Archons to try and help him fight. And it looks like Serral actually takes a decent enough fight here. Wow. Definitely in the skies and on the ground as well.
More than decent, I would say. That hatchery is falling though on the right side of the map, but the Archons getting neuraled made it a lot easier for these Corruptors to just dive on top of the carriers. And even though ShoWTimE was maxed out, I honestly feel that a lot of his supply simply wasn't there. It didn't look like a maxed out Protoss. He only had 3 or 4 carriers there, 1 or 2 Void Rays as well. Serral still has to be careful, but that was obviously a dream fight for Serral. Right when you felt that ShoWTimE was hitting that army that you're hoping for as a Protoss, Serral kind of wipes it out.
He certainly does. There's a massive supply lead right now. Not in workers, but in army, and his army is extremely powerful, heavily upgraded, and looking to pounce here on this 5th attempt here from ShoWTimE. It's like the 3rd or 4th time he's trying to get this Nexus up, and every time he tries, there is Serral waiting in the shadows to take out everything he sets forth to defend, and Serral takes another wonderful engagement. ShoWTimE bleeding units. It looks like Serral is going to get the first map of the Grand Finals.
Damn. Funny way to start off this grand finals, to say the least. Both players being very cautious at first, and then a couple of crazy engagement. That big one in the middle of the map, you could truly see the power of that new upgrade. Because with the old lurkers, you can't just run into all those immortals. You can't run into Storm Archons. Serral did it, cleaned out that army. ShoWTimE was doing a good job in buying time for himself. Was able to get a couple of carriers out as well. Then I love the activity that Serral showed with the Corruptors, right? Getting a Void Ray, getting a carrier, just making it hard for ShoWTimE to stabilize. And right when you reach the point where ShoWTimE has a 190 supply, he's basically got everything that a Protoss could dream of. Storm, Archons, carriers, Void Rays. Serral looks at that army, he's like, actually, I think I can engage this. I have Neural Parasite as well, takes control of the Archons, and that was a one-sided fight if I've ever seen one.
You just don't see Neural used much these days. And here I am sitting here with my old pre-4.0 brain going, oh, these Neurals are for the carriers, right? They're for the air army. Absolutely not. They were for the Archons, and the Archons, with that splash damage and +3 attack, don't mind you, like, they were doing tons of damage to the army of ShoWTimE. Brilliant play from Serral, great strategic play. And he finds himself a map as a result.
It's very situational, of course. There are definitely still moments where you're right, Maynard, where you do want to take control of those carriers if you can as a Zerg. But Serral looked at it, he's like, I've still got 20 Corruptors, and the scariest thing in that army for my Corruptor is not the carrier. Those 1 or 2 Void Rays are also not that intimidating. It's the Archons, the combination of Storm and Archons. You can have 20 Corruptors, but they can disappear in the blink of an eye. So he's like, well, if I take care of the Archons, my Corruptors can just take care of the rest, and he was spot on.
Yes, that's right, and we are loading into our second battlefield here. It is going to be Eastwatch, a gigantic map for the new meta map pool. It's really, really exciting here. It hasn't seen too many PvZs on it, but this one is going to be a cracker. Oh, man. Rotterdam, thoughts on this map for this one?
I haven't seen that many high-level PvZs on it either. Of course, there is a gold base that Serral could potentially take as his third. If he doesn't do that, then it should be his fourth base at least. ShoWTimE played a PvP on it earlier against Neep, and I honestly think that was most of the one of the most impressive games I've seen in the entire tournament. However, your PvP skills are not going to help you that much when you go up against that crazy Finnish wonder boy that is Serral.
That's right, this Wunderkind on stage. Can he get it done, or will ShoWTimE fight back? In the top right here, from Germany, representing our team, this is ShoWTimE!
In the left bottom side, we're looking at the main base of our Finnish Zerg player. By many considered to be the strongest player in Europe, it is Serral.
Serral has been revered almost by the pro scene. It's like he's a deity. He's been so unfathomably good on ladder and consistent in these tournaments, getting a finals appearance. Jönköping always getting deep with the others. This time, his second finals appearance against the one-time WCS champion ShoWTimE. Cannot forget 2016, he did win that big title, and it was looking like a massive year for ShoWTimE, but then 2017, quite quiet. But 2018, definitely starting with a bang.
No, he's starting to look out really well. He already has so many WCS points now, so even if he would have one of these WCS events this year where he performs a little bit less, as he likes to tease, that second group stage can be very intimidating. Even if that would happen, with the amount of points that ShoWTimE has picked up, this is already a great start, but of course, you're not thinking about that right now. Right now, there's only one thing on ShoWTimE's mind, and that is lifting that trophy in front of this German audience, which I think he's had a lot of highlights in his career already, but I think that would be the ultimate highlight for him.
Absolutely, nothing better than that, and it'd be a massive win as well. I mean, it was Nurtio back in the day, and this time, Serral has sort of taken that place as the scariest Zerg in Europe. And we are seeing just a little bit of scouting here from ShoWTimE, a little bit of dancing micro here with the probe trying to deny a patch, but of course, it's just mainly for scouting information.
It's funny as well. This is one of these things, it doesn't do much, but it is kind of annoying. If you see that your opponent is try-harding so hard, and you look at your workers, and every single time they're supposed to mine, they bounce to another patch. For the people who wonder, what is ShoWTimE doing there exactly? Basically, to mine minerals, you can see there's a little animation that takes a couple of seconds. ShoWTimE will start that animation, which means that his probe has taken control of that mineral patch, but right before he collects the minerals, he presses hold, he presses stop, and they will stop mining, and then he redoes it. So basically, Serral can temporarily only use 7 out of those 8 mineral patches. It doesn't hurt Serral much, but it's one of those things where you're looking at it, you're like, come on, just leave. You know?
Yeah, this is an annoying thing here. The first Protoss probe is always the most annoying probe in the game. We have the third hatchery going down here for Serral, nice and early, or a regular time rather, but not going towards that gold base, which I figured a few players would want to do, but Serral going for the safer, more standard option.
What I can see is why Serral perhaps doesn't take the gold base is that if ShoWTimE would follow his Stargate build, which we all expect him to go for, I mean, he already has it, actually, his Oracle's on the way, but he will follow it up with a Prism more often than not. If you take the gold base, and you have to imagine this Prism could bounce between the main base and the gold very quickly, and then Serral, his units, would have all the way have to run around over and over and over again, and you have to worry about those rocks. So I think that Serral is like, I'm still kind of new on this map, I haven't really faced builds like that too often. It would make a lot more sense for me to take a much safer expansion rather than that tricky gold.
Yeah, just going to try and make things as solid as possible because ShoWTimE, if he sees any weakness, will take advantage of it. A couple of depths getting caught in the middle of the map. They will shade away. There's a little bit of surface area for them to dance in between these high grass, the high vision grass, trying to get in between. Also, they will survive with that shade. Nicely done for ShoWTimE. First, Oracle heading across the map to see what he can get done.
Yeah, that was a very solid little dance, because if ShoWTimE is not paying attention there and the Lynx can get the wraparound, both adepts will fall. So it was very important for ShoWTimE to bounce back and forth. It's not that he really needs those adepts, but those adepts do really help in keeping your third base alive. And this game, you can see Serral already much better prepared for that Oracle. On Neon Violet Square, it was 3 drone kills immediately. This time, it's 0.
This time the Spore Crawler was positioned in a much better location for that for the Oracle as well, for it to fight with that Queen. It's a little bit of an opening on Neon Violet Square, but not this time. ShoWTimE tries the natural here. Queen hasn't popped out just yet. There she is.
Yeah, that was a Spore as well. And of course, the Oracle already took a little bit of damage. You don't want to start off game 2 after losing game 1 with losing your first Oracle. There's this... That's one of the worst positions to find yourself in, because then you lose that map presence you so desperately want. You want to keep an eye on what Serral is doing as well. Even though ShoWTimE is probably expecting a Hydralisk, then that's not going to come as a surprise, but you just want to keep that Oracle alive.
So ShoWTimE's build here, Robotics Facility, Forge, and Twilight Council going down, expecting Resonating Glaives here.
That's quite a few Zerglings for Serral. I feel like that's a few more than we normally see in this phase in the game. I'm not sure if that's enough Lings, though, to get a cancel on this Nexus, which I kind of feel that Serral is going for. But ShoWTimE still has those 4 adepts. He has the Oracle protecting this Nexus as well. And I actually think that ShoWTimE is going to see these Lings, and he's going to be like, hey, that's actually kind of nice. That means that you have a few less drones than you're supposed to have. Serral does not have enough to get a cancel on this Nexus.
Definitely not. His lockdown very tight. He even has sentries here at this wall, which Serral sees with his Overlord flying on through. And it's not going to be Resonating Glaives, it's going to be Charge Lots here. And +1, of course, on that Forge rolling in for ShoWTimE. So he's already transitioning into a different army.
Quite a quick Forge as well. I feel in some of the other games, ShoWTimE, his Forges were much later. Sometimes he didn't get a Forge at all until he had like Storm, Immortals, Archons. So perhaps he's going to try to take some more risk. I think it's safe to say that game 1, they started off very, very cautious. ShoWTimE really didn't commit a lot to the RS. He didn't wipe in a lot of units trying to get economic damage done. I think he's going to try to switch it up here a little bit in game number 2 with a much faster +1. Obviously, Charge on the way, so there's a good chance he's going to try to get some real damage done with Zealots and Archons.
4th Hatchery being taken here at the goal, but ShoWTimE doesn't care about that. He wants to try for the main base. A couple of Adepts getting out of there, and the Prism can reinforce if he decides that there's an opening in the defenses of Serral. Serral's armies actually seem to be out in the creep here, way out of position. Lynx coming in now to help out with this Prism, which isn't going to warp in any more units. It's a little bit too much Zerg now, but he does kill 5 drones and also denies a lot of mining time. Quite nice there for ShoWTimE.
I love it. You know, Zealots can be a little bit clumsy sometimes. If you have +1, obviously they're great in fighting those Zerglings. They're great in fighting almost anything, to be honest, early game. But if you don't really want to invest into losing units yet, why not have those Adepts use the Shades as well to get out of tricky scenarios? But at the same time, these Adepts can find a little bit of economic damage. I like this start by ShoWTimE. That's quite cute, actually. Hey, are those the...
They're not Ewoks. You can't say that.
Okay. They remind me of this very old Disney cartoon, but I don't know how to call them, how to say it in English. In Dutch, it was Knobble and Bobble, you know, the 2 little squirrels. One of them was a detective with a little glass on his eye. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I think Chippendale?
Yeah, I think that's how they call it. Yeah, we had a different name for it. And it's been 25 years, so I don't really... Hey, they're over there as well. There's a little...
Oh my God!
We're learning all these things about Eastwatch. Amazing.
No wonder people love these new maps. Hive going down there and scouted by ShoWTimE as well. Lurker, no surprises from Serral.
Damn.
All these European Zerg have been loving this Lurker style in ZVP.
Yeah, it keeps you safe, right, against these certain Archon Immortal pushes as well. Look at the economy of Serral this game, though. 83 drones. A single Adept is actually a little bit risky. One Adept doesn't...
No shield battery either.
Yeah, no shield battery doesn't means that this Adept could fall quite quickly. ShoWTimE did wipe in a couple of additional units, but he has to stay careful with that later on, because you don't want to find yourself in a scenario where you've got 28 Zerglings dancing around in your main base.
Serral's keeping busy with his army. He doesn't have much army to speak of, but he doesn't really need one right now. He's spreading creep, and he's actually using his army supply just to knock down the rocks, open up these paths for him so that he can react to the Protoss army a little bit better, even set up a flank later in the stages. So being very cautious.
This creep is actually madness, Maynard.
Yeah.
It's like in the old days, you know, people were like, Zelnaga, watch guys, oh my god, you've got like 2 creep highways, oh, it's crazy, but it's like a single line of creep too much. East watch is absolutely massive, and I feel 8 minutes into the game, Serral sees half of it. That's ridiculous. Do you know how hard it becomes for ShoWTimE to find an opening with his Warp Prism? He's always flying, and this is that scouting as well. These Overlords are always moving, Lings are always running around. It is hard to catch this Finnish Zerg off guard, and that's one of the reasons why his win record is insane against Protoss.
At 8.5 minutes, ShoWTimE dropped that fleet beacon. He is going for the Tier 3 air army again here. As Hive, nice and quick for Serral, as we expected. Digging Claws going down to help out those lurkers. He is starting to round out his army, and there's ShoWTimE going for the triple Stargate. Kind of expecting triple carrier again, but...
Yeah, and that's a lot faster as well than in the previous game. Don't forget, in the previous game, he maxed out on Archon Immortal Storm. This time, he's at 150 supply, and he's already getting ready for all these carriers. And that's nice and all, but there are 5 Drop Lords heading towards his main. Serral is maxed out on Hydras, Lings, Lurkers, and the occasional Roach found himself into the army as well. I don't know why these Roaches snuck in. Will help out a little bit against the Zealots, but this drop could potentially do a lot of damage because ShoWTimE is very, very far out of position.
He's recalling here into the main, and he has to. He was so far away from this attack from Serral. Looks like, oh, we might get one of these Overlords. Pulls back there, unfortunately. So the Overlords do survive for Serral.
Yeah, but this is awkward, right? It's hard for this army to leave the main. It just takes a little while. Hopefully everything can fit through. Sometimes Archons can be a little bit clumsy, but that wasn't Serral's entire army. Now Serral's going to try to get a good position for himself somewhere with Lurkers as well. Has to be careful though.
Digging Claws, Lurkers, they can get out of there if this fight goes badly. One of those Overlords got taken out. The others are a little bit bruised. So ShoWTimE's just leaving a few units back here to deal with those Overlords.
But
and he has most of his forces on the ground.
Now Serral can try to hit one of the other bases and go for some sort of a contain, but there are stasis traps everywhere, getting a couple of Hydras and Roaches at once. Cannons as well. ShoWTimE is weathering the storm so far.
Speaking of storms, plenty of them still available here for ShoWTimE. Oh, speaking of which, one of those High Templar go down. These Roaches, they don't care about the weather. They can deal with a storm or two. It's the Hydras and the Lurkers that he really wants to get rid of, though.
I mean, ShoWTimE is getting closer and closer towards a maxed out army. He's got Tempest on the way as well. Even the Mothership is on the way. Some good force fields, couple of free units. I am very impressed with how ShoWTimE has handled the last few minutes in this game.
Archon's going to get a couple of these Overlords. They're full of units. Big pick off there for ShoWTimE. And that drop play is starting to lose the win, and that sails. All 3 of these Immortals pulling back to the shield batteries to help out. Charge Light Warp in from ShoWTimE. This Lurker force, though, very, very scary.
ShoWTimE is playing an amazing game because Serral is really being incredibly active with his units. He's trying to pull him apart. He's setting up a lot of traps as well. ShoWTimE would overcommit at one side. Another Overlord goes down. Maybe the final one as well.
Gets all of the Dropper Lords here, does ShoWTimE, and he's already producing this Tempest. Mothership is on the way, but +3 about to finish. Some of these Hydras will find some of these expensive units. Storm going down here for ShoWTimE, not the greatest storm in the whole world. That one a little bit better. In fact, the Hydras walking back into it and dying in the end there.
It's funny as well to see that many Roaches, right? I'm a little bit surprised by it. Perhaps Serral was worried about a heavy Zealot count. There are quite a few Zealots on top of those Lurkers right now. Serral's winning this fight, but what about all of his Lurkers? They all disappeared, and I think that's a trade that ShoWTimE will take any day of the week.
Yeah, that's the bigger deal here. Those expensive, important Lurkers. That splash damage potential for Serral getting taken out here. What is his game plan? He's going into Great Aspire with just Ling Hydra at the moment, and the army of ShoWTimE's getting better and better against that unit composition.
These Roaches have actually done quite well. I mean, when it comes to the kiting, when it comes to picking up those high HP units like the Archons, like the Immortals, obviously Serral's not just sitting back with his Roaches and run into a maxed out ShoWTimE, because they would be terrible. But with how active, I mean, this is an amazing game. I love the mobility. I love the multi-pronged fights. ShoWTimE has done a really good job, but he has to make sure that he keeps having units in the right place.
This is looking a little dicey. Not many storms or any storms available here at this Nexus.
The rocks have been down as well, which means that ShoWTimE is going to have a really hard time. ShoWTimE uses a recall.
He does recall, and here he comes with a big Mothership. She's down here. It's Mama's house, but there's no storms underneath, and they need to get forward here and deal with these huge Hydra numbers. An Oracle gets picked off immediately. Chargeless walked in. Doesn't look like ShoWTimE has a ton here. He's trying to make some High Templar now, but they don't have storms just yet. They can only become Archons.
But he has high HP units, though, and a couple more are coming in from the north side. Those Zealots will fall. The Immortal does get picked off. but ShoWTimE should survive, but you are spot on. Ooh, what are you? Drop the storms! Oh, that's a shame. He had so much energy on both of them. ShoWTimE needs to take care of those rocks. He has to kill the rock. I hope he's doing that right now. But he has no DPS, it takes forever.
Yeah, the Tempest rate of fire, not too impressive. No bonus damage against those rocks. And looks like Serral's going for the natural as well, with plenty of Hydras of these Roaches doing a lot of tanking for him here. And he's inside the Nexus here, doing damage, pulling the probes out.
No, stop Mothership.
That's yours.
Why is this happening? This Mothership is supposed to help the Tempest, not attack it. I mean, ShoWTimE is going to clean this up as well. It's still shooting at that Tempest.
ShoWTimE clearly feeling the heat here. Serral really making him get a little frazzled here in this game. This Nexus under a lot of pressure. Roach and Hydra too high in number. This Nexus looking like it's going to go down.
Killing those rocks was amazing. I mean, Serral really did a phenomenal job in making it so hard for ShoWTimE to defend this base. ShoWTimE suddenly fought all those Hydras without storms. If ShoWTimE has 2 or 3 High Templars there, I honestly don't think he has any trouble cleaning that up at all. But because of the rocks, all of his units took a very weird route. He lost a lot of units, and at one point he just ran out of High Templars.
And he's running out of economy as well. All of those bases looking a little bit dry. He's very oversaturated here with his workers. And Serral, speaking of workers, 80 drones, tons of bases, creep spread up to wazoo. He is sitting pretty, definitely in charge of this game right now. How does ShoWTimE come back in this one?
It's amazing as well how Serral has 80 drones, but I feel never any of his bases are saturated. We saw ShoWTimE's natural. He still had 17 probes. There's a couple of big storms do land in his army.
Yeah, those are wonderful storms there. Tons of damage to that Roach and the Hydra count. The Corruptors are here to try and help fight with the carriers, and so far so good. Another run by here with Serral, but this time the Immortals say no thank you.
Yeah, that is a matchup that works out well for Protoss. Charge Lord's Immortal against Pure Roach. It's like, yeah, we don't even need to really look at that fight. We don't have to micro here. Corruptor's gonna try to dive on top of these Tempests. They do get 2 of them, but the carriers have to go down as well.
And ShoWTimE has a little bit of storm energy left. The Mothership is tanking a lot of this damage. Pull it back. Those Corruptors are quite softened up, but it's tough for ShoWTimE to finish them off. That's the last storm here, and he is just doing what he can with what he has, which doesn't look like enough. The Corruptors are ruling the skies.
And with the economy that Serral has, these are phenomenal trades for the Zerg player. All of these Tempests have gone down. The carriers, it took a little while, guys, but they did go down as well. And it's just the positioning of these Corruptors, right? He makes it impossible for Archons to truly help out.
Caustic Spray, a little bit of an overextension there from Serral, but he can afford to make mistakes here. He's so far ahead. He has tons of economy. He has still the map control. ShoWTimE hasn't been able to really leave this side of the map at all in the last 5 minutes, I feel.
I'm amazed with how Serral has played this map. It seems like he has played 100 PvZ or CVPs on this map already. The way he's moving his units around, how active he is, the timings that he's hitting, and I think that ShoWTimE is about to run out of steam.
And he's out of storm energy as well. One more storm available. Now they have to become an Archon to fight. And there are so many Hydras here. They have 3 upgrades, and they are mincing through this Protoss army. GG! Serral 2-0 in the grand final.
Damn, what a game. 16 minutes of action on Eastwatch. The moment that Serral started attacking, he never stopped. I loved the drop alert play, but then I loved even more how ShoWTimE reacted with it. Serral tried to set up some traps as well, hoping for an overcommitment perhaps in the main base, tried to set up concaves. While ShoWTimE was surviving all of that, I was like, damn, I think that ShoWTimE has really done it again. I think that he found that place in the game where he wants to be, and that's when those rocks were taken down, and from that point on, ShoWTimE just had a really hard time putting his units in the right places. And those Tempests, I mean, Tempests are great if they are protected. Exposed Tempests, not all that great anymore. Amazing game by Serral. It's just playing unreal StarCraft.
Man, ShoWTimE is a PvZ monster, but Serral is just a different kind of beast here. How does ShoWTimE come back in here? What is our next map going to be in the series? It is going to be Backwater for Game 3.
Once again, one of the Neo maps, also a map where we've already seen that drop alert play can be very, very effective, because you sort of have a pocket third base that's hard to defend if units somehow show up. And in PvZ, we thought we never had to worry about that, but with all these overlords and morphing into drop alerts, that's got to be something that you have to worry about as a Protoss as well. I mean, both games have been good, both games have been competitive, and with both games, there really were moments where you felt, I think ShoWTimE is in the place where he wants to be. And that's when Serral just keeps on pushing, pedal to the metal, and he just makes it happen.
Yeah, ShoWTimE had a few glimmers of hope there on Eastwatch, but definitely on Neon Violet Square, there were moments where I thought, oh, ShoWTimE's got this. Like, he is large and in charge. But on Eastwatch, it seemed to be all Serral for about 15 minutes straight.
I've already seen Protoss armies fall that were not supposed to fall in this matchup, Maynard.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, what I really love, and that's something that we haven't maybe seen that precisely in detail, but the way that Serral uses his Corruptors, there's been a lot of criticism on the Corruptor over the years, right? Some Zergs feel that it's kind of a dull unit, and either it's super good or it's kind of useless. But the movement on the Corruptors is one of the reasons why Serral has had so much success with it, because he doesn't put his Corruptors in a vulnerable position. Always above high ground, always away from Archons. And Corruptors, they fall very fast to the combination of Storm and Archons, but Archons have T-Rex arms, right? They don't really get in range. And Serral has done a really good job in keeping those Corruptors healthy and allowing them to dive on top of those Tempest carriers and even the Mama ship.
Even the Mama ship. No one is safe. And we are inside the game as this grand final continues. All right, Leipzig, get your vocal cords warmed up. This guy needs your energy. At the top left from Armor Team, this is ShoWTime!
And in the right bottom side of Backwater, we're looking at the main base of the Finnish Wonder Boy himself. It is Serral. Just 2 maps away from his biggest offline victory to point his first WCS victory as well. As of course, a couple months ago, Serral was victorious in Barcelona. I think he got like $18,000 for that victory as well. So that was a great weekend for him. But at the end of the day, people look at it, it's a qualifier. And it doesn't mean it wasn't hard, because it was incredibly hard. All Europe's best players were there. And Serral showed the world that he can win offline tournaments as well. But winning a WCS tournament, that's obviously the next step for him.
What a run for that qualifier, though. How many maps did he drop, Roddy?
I think 1 or 2. I know that he went 7-0. I think he dropped 2 maps against Utermo, and I'm sure he dropped 1 or 2 in the group stage as well. But on the final day, a couple months ago, Serral went 7-0 in ZVZ. So much for that being a random matchup, eh?
Yowza. Yeah, certainly. He's got his handle on that matchup. Most Zergs here in Europe do. Serral even more so. And, well, I mean, ShoWTime still has 2 lives remaining. Serral still has 4, so very comfortable position here in this grand final for the WCS.
I absolutely do not think that all hope is lost. Both games, ShoWTime had a very, very playable position. He made it up to 160, 170 supply. And a maxed out Protoss on the Dream Army is still stronger than almost any Zerg army that Zerg can come up with, unless they really start using static defenses as well, but then it becomes a kind of a different game. In straight up army fights, Protoss is supposed to have the upper hand, and ShoWTime was almost there. In both games, I really feel he was almost there, but right before he was totally there, Serral was like, nah, let's start trading again. Let's get some fights going. So not all hope is lost, but ShoWTime just needs... I mean, it's unreal what Serral is showing us. The kid is playing so good. It's really, really hard.
He had a really solid game, and I think part of the reason that Serral did so well in that last game on Eastwatch was he was actually playing the map very well.
Yes.
He had his Corruptors positioned in a place where the Archons couldn't reach them. He was weathering all the storms, literally and figuratively there, and he knocked down the rocks as well to make it tough for ShoWTime to reinforce. Really brilliant play and really utilizing his map knowledge.
If Dustin Browder was awake, he would have been a very, very happy man. When he saw the rocks being used like that, that's what he had in mind 7 years ago, Maynard.
Just think back to those GIF when he's just jumping out of his chair, clapping.
One of the greatest things the internet has ever seen. So we've got an Oracle on the way once again, followed up by this Phoenix. I would actually love to see ShoWTime do what Neeb did, for instance, against Elaser. Instead of always doing the regular 1 Oracle, even 2 Oracle, Neeb went 3 Oracles one time. There is no Oracle yet, actually, so it's a straight-up Phoenix opening. Now he's going to make maybe some good old Phoenix Adept here.
Oh, man.
Okay.
I know when multiple Phoenixes come out, your blood starts to boil, your nostrils flare, Rotterdam. You're
I
ready
am
for
not
this one.
sure if I can contain myself, Maynard. Ooh, a Dropper Lord as well, but that's actually good news for ShoWTime, because he doesn't just have 1 Phoenix, he has multiple Phoenixes.
He finds it 2.
Yep. But this is not a crazy link flood by Serral. This is not a crazy commitment. Serral is even just going to cancel it. But at least this is a minor victory for ShoWTime.
Yeah, little edges though, but little edges can spiral out of control if you can keep your level of play up there. We got that 3rd hatchery getting saturated by Serral, dropping that Spore Crawler to make sure it's as safe as possible. And ShoWTime is continuing to pump out those Phoenixes. Haven't seen a Twilight Council just yet.
Nope, but perhaps he feels like he doesn't need it, right? Because his 3rd base is super safe, so you don't really need to rush out like Charge or Resonating Glaives to stabilize your Nexus that normally can be a little bit vulnerable if you play any sort of Stargate opener. But that's not going to be the case here, so ShoWTime is just going to follow this up with a Robot, maybe some Phoenix Colossus here, that's possible as well. I mean, we see so many Zerglings in every single game, we see lots and lots of Hydras. Colossus are not the I kill everything unit it used to be, but they are still pretty damn good against light armored units.
Yeah, they still are the I will kill all your Lings and Hydra unit, though.
As long as they're safe, as long as there's no Vipers on the map.
Well,
or Roaches.
Roaches. And that is actually one of the weaknesses here for that back pocket third, is that Dropper Lords have done so much damage. Namshar finding a lot of success in this map with it. But
against all these Phoenixes,
yeah, that's the thing. But the Phoenixes, as long as they're around for ShoWTime and being vigilant, they will stop that play from happening. See, Baneling Nest going down here for Serral.
Yeah, he's obviously attempting to play very, very different against this Phoenix style than he does against any Oracle opener. And I think that the Zergling Baneling styles are excellent against Phoenix play, but normally that's also to do some economic damage, right? To do some run-bys, apply some pressure on Protoss third base. That's not possible on Backwater. So for all, I mean, on Eastwatch, he really played towards the strengths of the map. I am not exactly sure if I'm feeling the way that Serral is playing Backwater up to this point, but we'll see where he takes this.
And it is going to be Colossus play for ShoWTime with those Phoenixes. A very, very old school unit composition coming back here from ShoWTime. And on paper, it seems like it's going to work quite well. But Serral going for a, you know, heading into Roach Warren actually, so that's not super great against Colossus. Or rather, Colossus not super great against them. Queens, though, not too bad against the Phoenixes when they're higher in number.
Exactly, especially not with that amount of energy. So one Phoenix did go down, but ShoWTime has already done quite a bit of damage. And this is also the power of the Phoenix. You can control the economies for quite some time. We are 6 minutes into the game, and ShoWTime has still been up in workers. There are many games where Zerg takes an economic lead, like 4 minutes and 45 seconds into the game.
Serral's taking this very, very seriously. Multiple Spore Crawlers defending those drone lines. He doesn't want to have those Queens and drones picked up at the battle here and just have one Spore Crawler weakly and meekly picking away at one Phoenix at a time. That was a lot of Queens and a lot of creep spread here getting active.
Exactly, and that's one of the downsides, right, when you play Phoenixes. If you play Phoenix, you don't really have anything to deny creep spread. You just kind of have to take that for granted for a little while. And I think that ShoWTime knows that. He's done a good job in dealing some economic damage, but the creep spread in this game, I honestly think is going to be out of control, just like it was on Eastwatch still, so perhaps it doesn't make much of a difference, but that's one of the big weaknesses of Phoenix players. One more Phoenix goes down. Good focus fire there by Serral.
Indeed, losing these Phoenixes really stings to ShoWTime. They are his sort of map control here. He doesn't have anything on the field. He just has that one observer just detecting creep, and that's basically it. These Phoenixes are his econ damage potential. He is finding some drones here, though. Yeah. It's a lot better.
I mean, he still has a little bit of energy. He could potentially get one more there. Well done. That's 7 additional drones again. And he spots the infestation pit, which he didn't do before. So that is a nice little scout there for ShoWTime as well. I am a tiny bit surprised to see Void Rays already. Maybe he does that to kill roaches. Maybe he's.
I mean, maybe worried about a high corruptor count here.
But there is no Spire yet. I mean, it would make sense, of course, because a big weakness of Phoenix Colossus, if you only have like 4 or 5 Phoenixes, is that the opponent suddenly shows up with 12 Corruptors, and then you just right-click on your Colossus. And if your Colossus die, obviously the rest of the ground army isn't strong because you don't have those upgrades you normally have.
His army's not amazing against high roach numbers. This Spore Crawler finding that observer there, the Queen helping out as well. Well, the Colossus count is getting up there. We're getting charge lots thrown in, and also Immortals getting thrown in as well. And this is looking like a bit more of a regular Protoss army, of course, with the Colossi being the extra splash damage part of it before the Templar tech is rounded out.
I feel like there's something bugging out in the main base of ShoWTime, no? Did I just see like probes? Maybe a little bit further to the side. I had the feeling that something was trapped or couldn't make its way out, but it seems like everything is fine. Maybe there was a temporary wall off or something. Multiple Dropper Lords were morphing, by the way, for Serral. And a couple of Phoenixes did go down, so it is important for ShoWTime that he keeps an eye on it. Because normally you can deal with most drops with a couple of weapons, right? But, you know, he doesn't really have those great upgrades yet. Charge is finishing up, but it's still important that the Phoenixes are in the right position to deal with any sort of drop play that Serral is going to throw at him.
Ultralist Cavern here from Serral. Now that is a good option here against Colossi, but I mean, the Void Ray count is still getting up there, and the Immortals are still getting pumped out for ShoWTime.
I mean, these Banelings have +2, by the way, Maynard.
Yeah, they want some probe lines, Roddy, I think.
Yep, I mean, there are cannons, there are Phoenix, and there are shield batteries as well.
Ooh, Phoenix is ready for that one.
These Banelings could potentially be very scary. I love this by Serral as well. He's distracting ShoWTime. He's like, hey, I've got Zerglings on the north side. ShoWTime needs to take care of this drop, and I think he will in time. He could lift the Banelings, and that's exactly what he does.
One of the Banelings does fire, and even with just a couple of Banelings left over, 5 probes go down with that +2, instantly detonating and killing those probes. And we have ShoWTime finally moving out onto the creep spread here, trying to deny some creep tumor. Serral, though, just with a Ling army, that's not going to win this fight.
It's going to try to be annoying, try to run by, but there isn't really much that Serral can accomplish there. Would love to see the Colossus swipe twice in that army, because that would have done a lot of damage. This is a funny composition. You're gonna get lots of Banelings as another Dropper Lord has been found on the top side of the map. Can these Banelings find their way into the Mineral Eye?
Maybe even get a High Templar here. Oh, he moves back. Does keep it alive. Denies a little bit of mining time, but no kills there.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Some of this gateway units is on the outside. These Colossus aren't very protected. The Banelings are rolling on in. Oh, God. Massacre here. Those high-cost robotics units getting taken out, and ShoWTimE desperately tries to recall, but he took massive damage there.
Oh, and does he have enough right now to defend at home? The recall went into the pocket expand as well, which feels a little bit awkward. There are cannons, there are a couple of storms available, but lots of Banelings are on the way. Those 2-2 upgrades really do matter. And look at Serral's supply, he's still maxed out.
And a lot of these links going in for the north. Massive storms hitting there. And from the south, Roach Ravager is shelling away on ShoWTimE. Can these warp pins hold on? The Void Rays are going to be very critical here to help with the Roaches. The Lings and the Banelings rolling in for the north again, though.
Well, I mean, the Colossus is still standing strong. There isn't much anti-air. Look at these Void Rays doing some work. How many probes will go down? Only 7. That was actually an amazing hold by ShoWTimE, because Serral was maxed out before that started.
Serral feels like, all right, I need a Spire now. This isn't working out on the ground. I need to go to the skies. He does still have the Ultras, though. Those big tanky ground units are still on the pipeline for him. He's got a nice, lovely bank, and he can start making them shortly with plenty of supply cap to go, and here they come. The 4 Ultras getting pushed out with kindness.
The Void Rays are not a unit that get a lot of respect these days, actually, but they were very useful in that fight. They were reigning supreme in the skies, because there wasn't really anything that shot up, and it avoided the cross of bows, and that really helped out a lot. I think there's plenty of kills on that Colossus as well. Can we take a look real quick? Yeah, 26. I mean, that's quite reasonable, right?
Quite nice indeed. Just a bit of a Ling humming here from Serral. Sharking around the map, looking for any openings. Mainly run by attempt again, and a lot of the static defense is down for ShoWTimE. Oh, he is reacting.
Still getting very close though towards High Templars as well, but shield batteries will keep that High Templar safe. The biggest problem is the Ultras. Now, Void Rays are good against Ultras. How many Queens do we have? It's 8 Queens. Okay, so that's quite a few Queens, but maybe with a couple of feedbacks, that could actually not be enough anti-air. This is going to be a very interesting battle. A couple of extra Archons would be super useful. We've got the Mothership as well. ShoWTimE needs another phenomenal hold, but if he defends this one, he finds himself in amazing shape.
Oh, I like this play from Serral here, dropping some creep chimmers. In fact, he sees this push with the Zealot, and he's getting in position. The Void Rays leading the charge, looking for those Ultralisks. Serral is just being patient here and biding his time.
You know, there's carriers on the way. I would actually like to see extra Void Rays.
Oh, these Banelings not doing much at all there. They get a cannon, I think, but leaving an opening for the natural. And Serral's getting in deep here with plenty of transfusions on these Queens.
I would love to see a couple feedbacks as well. Can these High Templars get close enough for feedbacks? Storms instead.
The laser beams running down, all of this coming out of the Void Rays, but these Ultras are so powerful, and they are closing the distance. Void Rays coming in close there for ShoWTimE, getting rid of these Ultras. The transfusion's not in range.
As long as he runs away from the Queens, that army of Serral is not that intimidating. There simply isn't enough anti-air, but Serral is still rich. Serral is still an 83 drone, so he can start making, if he wants, Corruptors, but going Corruptors against 6 Void Rays can be dicey. You really need overwhelming numbers, but we do have the first Corruptors on the way. We could potentially see some Infestors soon as well, which I think that he would absolutely do if ShoWTimE decides to continue on making Void Rays. These carriers, I thought they were risky, because I think surviving was most important, but he did survive, and now, of course, the carriers are going to be very, very useful, because what are the Corruptors going to do? Will they go for the carriers? That means the Void Rays will melt those Corruptors, and if the Corruptors start fighting those Void Rays, well, then it's a kind of a bad trade anyway. The longer this goes on, the more and more I will like it for ShoWTimE.
No Graviton Catapult started just yet for these carriers, so they're not as good as they possibly could be, but they are still carriers, and they do still have that damage output. See, +3 is done for this ground army. Speaking of ground armies, Serral's is coming through the natural again, going for another attempt. The army of ShoWTimE out of position.
This time an X-Core is going to take a lot of damage, and that's actually quite sad, because it finally had +1 air weapons on the way. That was the one thing I feel that ShoWTimE was kind of lacking. He doesn't have the air upgrades yet that you would like to have, and now he's going to have to rebuild it, but maybe instead he's going to respond with double 7 at X-Core.
Ling run by here, going to the north and going to deny that Nexus attempt here from ShoWTimE. That's where his army was positioned. He's retaking the southern X-Core, so he is going to go for those air upgrades. See shields on the way as well. Chargelot's going to get rid of those Lings easily, but there's the rest of the big Zerg units here for Serral.
I mean, ShoWTimE's got a powerful army, but the tough thing is that he doesn't really have anything to apply economic pressure, right, or do some damage. We do see that second Cybercore as well. So we are going to see all the air upgrades, but can ShoWTimE survive? Can he have his army in a good position? No.
Oh no, these High Templar getting big storms here, looking for that Graviton ball. They are diving on these carriers. Remember, they don't have Graviton Catapult. They're not high enough a number either. The Void Rays are doing tons of damage though.
Yeah, that's a really good fight again for ShoWTimE. Even managed to land a couple storms and save those High Templars, morphing them into Archons. These Ultras could potentially get a snipe on that 5th base, but look at the Corruptors. This time they do not get the position they want because of those Void Rays.
You're right, he doesn't respect the Void Ray. The Void Rays are doing a massive job here for ShoWTimE. They're great against the Roaches, great against Queens, great against the Corruptors.
I almost feel that Serral should try to get a couple of Infestors out. Maybe not necessarily for Neuro, but more for Fungo growth. Void Rays tend to clump up a lot, so Fungo is incredibly effective against Void Rays. And if Serral doesn't get a proper answer against these Void Rays, and like I said, we didn't respect them for a little while. Okay, then we do have an upgrade for the Infestor. His Pathogen Glance is being researched, and I think it's a very smart decision.
Yeah, extra energy upgrade, and this time he's getting Burrow as well for those Infestors. Neural makes a lot of sense going into later stages of this game. Just Infested Terrans in general helping out quite a bit as well. Ling run by attempt here, but this time ShoWTimE with a little bit too much. Another attempt on the natural here for Serral. Corruptors leading in, looking for that Mothership. But again, the Void Rays are still here, and the Storms are helping it a lot as well.
Storm's doing a little bit of friendly fire too, but that is so many Void Rays. A lot of Corruptors do go down. The Storms did a lot of damage as well, and ShoWTimE will defend again.
Easily here. Looks like Serral is actually killing himself, shedding all of his units into the natural, and ShoWTimE just keeps shaving them off one at a time.
And I think we might actually be starting to look at the phase of the game where maybe ShoWTimE can start sending out a couple of units here and there, as this one Ultralist is going to go down as well. The only downside for ShoWTimE has been that he's just not done any economic damage in the last 5-6 minutes. Would love to see him squeeze in a Prism and fly it via the, the outskirts of the map. Just swap in a couple Zealots, maybe a Dark Shrine. I know he's quite broke, but Dark Shrines aren't super expensive. Just anything to start annoying Serral as well, because Serral has not had to look on his side of the map for the last 5 minutes.
There is not much of a bank for Serral, at least for ShoWTimE. It's not like he's banking up 2,000 or 3,000 minerals. He's actually been putting a lot of resources into these attacks, which haven't broken ShoWTimE and ended the game just yet. And a lot of expensive units going down. We are in that phase of the game. We're going to see a Spore Crawler Forest begin here for Serral, so he can pull back to safety if ShoWTimE tries to press the issue.
It's a tough fight to tough army to engage into though for Serral. We've seen it. These Storms, how many Templars are currently out on the map? ShoWTimE actually didn't get Templars for a little while. He only had 3. Now he walked in 2 additional Templars, but those don't have energy. So not too many Storms available, and that is actually a little bit worrisome if you're on Team ShoWTimE.
ShoWTimE, is he still producing carriers? He still hasn't gotten that Graviton Catapult upgrade, but he only has a few carriers. It's really all about those Void Rays.
That's actually quite a big deal. You're spot on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice Fungo as well, and all of these Void Rays. Storms will save them for now. But yeah, you're right. It's a very cheap upgrade. You need that upgrade if you really want your carries to be effective. That is something that is very, very important for ShoWTimE. I did not notice that at all, Maynard.
Yeah, I was kind of looking for it during those fights there where the carriers were getting still produced as they really make the damage output of the carriers increase several fold here. A little bit of a Phoenix harassment, cute little play here from ShoWTimE, gets a few drones for free and leaves.
It's something, right? And at least he knows about the base as well, spots the Infestor if he wasn't 100% sure about that yet. +2 air weapons for ShoWTimE, you really need to take a look at your fleet beacon. And I don't think he's going to see it unless he really starts paying attention to a slow fight, kind of a small fight, and perhaps sees the speed at which of his interceptors come out. Oh, Neuro being used, but just on a single.
Oh, that fungal!
The High Templars!
The High Templars getting fungled here, a couple of them dying, 4 of them are very, very low. ShoWTimE does actually push back though, gets some of these expensive units for Serral, takes an army supply advantage, and he's trying to push on through. ShoWTimE, is this his moment to collapse?
It's still hard to run to the other side of the map, especially across all this creep, across the Spore Crawlers as well, but that looked scary with all of the High Templars being very clumped up and almost storming themselves with that Archon being neuroed as well. But that Protoss army, especially with air upgrades kicking in now as well, I mean, that's an army you have to respect. There is just one thing missing, and that is Graviton Catapult.
Yeah, really huge deal here for ShoWTimE and kicking himself looking back at this game. If he loses it, but so far he's actually in charge, I feel. Charge lot run by coming into this pace, but Ling's not coming in, and an Ultra is just like, hey, what's up?
The unexpected.
Yeah, always expect the unexpected. It's tough to do against Serral, unfortunately. Now the Nexus finding a little bit of opening here. Tons of Corruptors for Serral, but don't forget the air upgrades, or rather the air army of ShoWTimE is still pretty substantial, and he still has that mothership with Archons underneath it and Storms as well.
It almost feels that Serral has overdone it on Corruptors at this point.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
It's only 4 carriers. He's going to use Caustic Spray on one of these new Nexuses, and obviously ShoWTimE is not rich, so that is a good snipe. That is, I feel that Serral should start using these Corruptors to go towards the main base. Try to snipe a unit that pops, you know, try a snipe a Void Ray, snipe a carrier, and maybe use some Caustic Spray in the main base as well, because 2 or 3 Stalkers is going to take forever until they kill those Corruptors. I think that's the play that Serral needs to make, because ShoWTimE has been an unbreakable wall in this game.
Sure, batteries helping out a bit. Those Lings finding a little bit more damage than I expected there. A couple of these carriers are actually quite low in hit points, rather, not in shields for ShoWTimE. So when the final battle happens for Serral, or rather the next fight with these Corruptors, a couple of those carriers could go down quite quick. Still no Graviton catapults, but the big air upgrades are on the way.
Yeah, it's getting 3-3. Oh, Corruptors do find a Void Ray or 2. Actually, gonna go for a carrier as well. They do get that. Storm will land. But that was a very good trade there for Serral. Didn't lose much at all. And I think he's going to start using these Corruptors on these next side, perhaps even go for the main base as well. And I think this is where things become very problematic, because Void Rays are just kind of awkward units to defend.
They certainly are. This Corruptor's very, very annoying, and Serral's got them in an annoying
position. He realized it.
Yeah, there we go. So it is finally on the way here for ShoWTimE, and he has such a huge force of carriers. It's really going to make a big difference for him here. Just Corruptors in production for Serral just continues to make them happy with his Ultras. Best army on the ground. Archons at the front getting caught, and in fact, Neural to become part of Serral's army here. ShoWTimE's coming to defend.
Don't actually think that Neural was very necessary. I think he would have killed those Archons anyway. Now he wasted a little bit of energy, lost a couple of Infestors, and it almost gave ShoWTimE extra time to make his way over and defend that base. I mean, Serral has taken every single base. Can we take a look at that income graph that we always look at, the ups and downs? I feel like Serral's been outmining ShoWTimE for a very long time.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, that's you rarely see this, by the way, for like a solid 10 minutes that Serral has just been mining 1,000 to 1,500 resources per minute more. But ShoWTimE still hanging in there. What is the unit's lost resource tab?
Oh, we're seeing the units lost going down here. Yeah, relatively even. Another Ultraless run by here into the natural. The Void Rays and the carriers are finding them, so Serral has to pay quite a few expensive units for this attempt.
Yep, these Ultras not super effective. ShoWTimE finally gets the base as he takes out that hatchery on the right top side, and that's actually quite nice. Of course, Serral's rich. Look at that army. That's a very, very bruised up army.
Yeah, bigger bank now, be able to replenish it though. Storm's going down on this Changelings, maybe a little bit of overkill there. He doesn't have more Storms where that came from. Mothership getting targeted down.
Wow. Nice snipe there for Serral. That's obviously an expensive unit to lose, and ShoWTimE still isn't all that rich. I honestly still feel that he can do more with the Corruptors. I guess he's looking for pickups, which is obviously a great way of using them as well. It's not like he doesn't do anything with them, but I think Caustic Spray could perhaps be even more annoying than it has been so far.
ShoWTimE is maxed. He is powering all those upgrades and posturing his army around. Hasn't been utilizing recall, so he still has that if things get super, super dire. His charge lot run-bys, trying to make sure that Serral doesn't spiral out of control in the corner bases here. Spinecrawler is going to slow down these Zealots, and there's no Ultra popping out this time, so maybe they'll get some drones at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, he's finding a couple of openings here and there, right? It's not much yet, and I know Serral still has a lot of money in the bank, but it's just important that eventually you start chipping away at that bank. You can't just sit back forever, unless you're playing that one mission in the campaign, but that one Protoss never wins, Maynard.
That's right. Spoilers.
Wow. 7 years later, I think people will take it.
Yeah, look, if you haven't finished the campaign at this point, that's your fault, not ours. I actually like that ShoWTimE is remembering and getting Photon Shield upgrades here. It's going to help out all of these units. In fact, these Archons benefiting almost the most from that. And these Corruptors are going in again. You're getting your wish. And they come looking for a Nexus to Caustic Spray on, and they find this one. It's already a little bit damaged.
And with that many Corruptors, these next are just going to disappear. Actually, losing this base stings, but there were worse things to lose. I honestly think if they go towards the main base and they get these targets and stuff, that's where things become very annoying, or even though Cybernetics score is right. As Burrow has been utilized in left bottom side against this Zealot run by. Very smart move. Ultras are going to try to save this hatchery, but I actually think the Zealots might get the job done.
Well, the Zealot's not targeting down, and it looks like it will go down. That one Zealot standing tall there, and it does actually stifle the income a little bit for Serral. He is still very, very rich, though, so in the grand scheme of things, not the hugest of deals. Both players not with incredible work accounts because it's all about the army supply now as we get into the almost the 25 minute of this game.
Ooh, a couple of Void Rays go too far forward. Corruptors once again. I didn't think I've ever said this, but Serral's been amazing with his Corruptors, just like picking up units one by one, not overcommitting, not eating those Archon shots. Yeah, something you really have to be on top of, because if you miss control once as a Zerg player, 2 Archon shots and 2 Storms, and before you know it, it's -10 Corruptors. But Serral has really been finding great value with these Corruptors.
And the Ultras are on the other side of the map getting a Nexus as well, trying to make sure that ShoWTimE is getting more bases. Another Nexus about to go down. Corruptor's going to take a lot of damage from these Archons, though.
Yeah, but they aren't that clubbed up anymore. Just in time for Serral. Ultras are still being annoying as well. Taking out a couple probes here and there. That Ultra goes into the mineral line, but oh, come on. I have no idea where it went, mate.
That is the Kappa Ultra right there. Oh, man. No way to get rid of that, unfortunately, without protection for ShoWTimE.
Uh-oh. And now these Corruptors are going to try to save Private Ryan that has been lost. But I think ShoWTimE is going to notice it in time. These Phoenix are going to get one-shotted as well. 3 Void Rays. Gotta be careful.
The Corruptors are protecting that hurt Ultra. Observers are coming forward.
He's like baiting it, right? He's like, yeah, why don't you come here with your Void Rays? But ShoWTimE knows it as well. And that's a lot of Void Rays. This is not a fight you want to take, Serral. And he knows.
That's right. The air army of ShoWTimE arrives with the Mothership helping out as well. This time the Ultra will not survive. It goes down. The Corruptor's got to get out of dodge. They cannot take this fight right now.
Those were the old Void Rays. Those Corruptors would have been in a little bit of trouble. If those Void Rays had Flux Veins, Maynard.
Oh, man, I forgot about that.
This game would have been over 20 minutes ago.
Good old Wings of Liberty. What is the Infestor count right now for Serral? Like, what is his fighting force outside of these Corruptors and Ultras? Damn, that's a lot of Infestors, and they are banking up that energy.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of Infested Terrans as well. Don't forget about those. Carriers are great, but Infested Terrans are absolutely phenomenal against carriers, against the Interceptors as well. And if you're running away, that's when Neural becomes very dangerous, because then suddenly you can't run away anymore. Serral has played a great game. ShoWTimE has played an awesome game, and it's still impossible to call. This game, it's definitely not over in one way or the other. Both players are maxed out. Both players got all the upgrades they can dream of.
Oh, there's cannons here this time for ShoWTimE. Shield batteries as well, so the Corruptors cannot find a free Nexus this time.
It will really come down to the execution. The Observer count is also going to be always important. We do see 4 Observers. If ShoWTimE ends up losing all of his Observers in a fight, that could be the ending immediately. And Observers can be fragile. There's always a bunch of Overseers in the mix. There is always Infested as well that can fungo everything. You've got to be so careful with that.
It's split map here with pretty much all the bases taken except for the one that ShoWTimE's lost and not retaken just yet. Probably not much point in doing so. It's more about taking these fresh bases, the fresh minerals and fresh gas. These Lings doing a bit of damage. Charge just going to get rid of them, no problem here.
I really thought the moment that ShoWTimE overstepped his boundaries in the middle of the map with his Colossus Gateway army, and Serral just jumped on top of it with the Bailings, I thought, all right, that could very well be it. The fact that ShoWTimE has survived for 12, 13, 14 minutes straight of endless waves of Zerg units is just awesome. And against a less Zerg player, Maynard, that meant that you won the game. But against Serral, that's apparently where the game just continues, where it picks up. It's like, oh, cool. 28-minute game, we both have everything we wish for. Almost.
Almost. I'm sure the crowd is wishing that ShoWTimE will come out on top in this one. But Serral is going to high tempo are a little bit vulnerable, but they do get to the safety of the Mothership.
Gotta be careful though, because a single Neural, that means if a maxed out energy High Templar, you can feed back 4 other High Templars, and that would be a very, very painful thing to witness if you're on Team ShoWTimE or if you have a Protoss Heart in general.
It's like a lot of Lings are being replenished here for Serral to get to his maxed army out.
Maybe just run it into the main base. I mean, these Lings have very good upgrades. You know what's crazy, by the way, that this is a 28-minute game and ShoWTimE still doesn't have a Dark Shrine.
Yeah, it's a very good late game structure there. Becoming Archons with the harassment potential of Dark Templar later in the game. Not something that the Zerg's thinking about right now.
Just to be annoying, just to deal with some run-bys as well. And you know, maybe if there is a moment where Serral doesn't have detection, even though that's unlikely with all these Overseers and all these Spore Crawlers and the Infestors, but just having a Dark Shrine, it's such a minor investment in this phase in the game that you may as well. Look at those Lings, for instance. Like, those Lings are going to be very annoying on the left side as we have Ultras running up this ramp as well.
Nope.
So, but that was more of a distraction maneuver. Like, it would just be nice to have a couple of Dark Templars slicing away at these Lings every now and then.
10,000 minerals in the bank here for Serral. Ultra late game being achieved for both players.
How much larva? That's what I'm wondering about. 63.
That's quite a bit.
That should be a remix. Neuro being used and a couple of Archons. And the Immortal as well. That's a nice little pickle.
I don't know, though. Their army is coming through, and it looks like ShoWTime should be able to take this fight. But, I mean, he does get rid of the Archons, at least, for energy. Which is nice.
I don't think Serral is really going to commit up a choke point. I mean, this is obviously a little bit of a flashback as well, right, to Neeb versus Rogue, where eventually Rogue picked kind of a poor position to fight in that right bottom side. I think both players are going to be very careful here. These armies can absolutely crush each other. It really comes down to the engagement. It comes down to the spell casting.
Where they fight and like
positioning is everything.
Throwing their I mean, if you cast your mind back to that Neeb Rogue game, Neeb's getting rid of all of his probes to make sure his air army was as big as possible.
Yeah, but ShoWTime just doesn't have the bank for it yet. You can do that if you've mined out the map, but if you haven't mined out the map yet and you only have 3,000 minerals, what was that, Oracle?
Yeah, it's just an Oracle. Well, I mean, just an Oracle. Little chips of damage here and there can make all the difference.
ShoWTime is going to sacrifice a few more pros. We already saw Serral sacrifice a couple of drones earlier in this game as well. +3 missile attacks on the way. That was one of the only upgrades that...
helps out the
I think that's like the only upgrade that Serral didn't have yet. He's got 3-3 on his Corruptors, and he had 3-3 on the ground as well. So he's like, may as well.
ShoWTime's even freed up enough supply to get a couple more carriers here, and he's also getting armor upgrades for the, I guess, for the Charge Loss and Immortals. No other unit really benefits from that. All right.
Yeah, it helps out, right?
The High Templar also get armor, okay.
And just, if you have the money, you may as well. There are some moments, there could be a moment, crazy as it sounds, that he would have to remax and maybe Blink Stalkers. He got Blink as well. And then it's always nice to have all the upgrades. Never underestimate the power of gateway units in very late game scenarios. If a big fight happens and Serral is like, well, almost losing, but then waiting for his reinforcements, then you don't want to queue up 3 carriers, because by the time that your 3 carriers show up, obviously the fight is long gone. So having those gateways, having all the upgrades, it could be useful. There's a chance it never comes into play, but I don't mind ShoWTime investing into it.
Serral's got a bastion of Spore Crawlers, which is actually like his line of defense is becoming his line of offense here if it gets creased closer and closer to ShoWTime. The Corruptor's looking for an opening. Too much splash damage here from ShoWTime, though. The Corruptor's pulled back to safety.
When the army is together like that, it's always going to be very, very tough for these Corruptors to get an opening against that many Void Rays as well. I mean, even if they stay there for a split second. A couple of infested Terrans, it's almost like the sign that Serral is perhaps ready to party. He has the Zelnaga Watchtower as well, which is of course going to help out a lot. Revelation, Maynard. Maynard, I know you've been saving your voice.
Here we go, big attack here from Serral, and here come the Queens, here come the Infestors, and the Corruptors are looking for an opening so far. ShoWTime is hurting them at bay. The Storms are going down on the Infested Terrans. They are doing so much damage with their +3 attacks from the back there. The Queens, a little bit out of range here from these transfusions on the Ultras. Big Bungles going down on the Air Army, Neurals as well. There go those Corruptors. The carrier's still alive, though. They are still fighting. There's lots of energy left on a few of these Infestors. Can Serral break on through with his Neurals? ShoWTime still with some units left over on that Nexus. He's replenishing with Blink Stalkers and he's moving on in. Does he have enough?
ShoWTime still got a lot of units, lots of Neuro going down now as well. These Corruptors taking a lot of damage. Blink Stalkers helping out a little bit. I actually think that all the air units will go down, but the Stalkers can perhaps save the day here. But ShoWTime did lose a lot. There's a couple of Ultras left as well. Immortals helping out.
The Immortals are here and they are dancing with these Ultras. Oh man, the Blink Stalkers looking for those Corruptors. Feedback from the Overseer as well just to help out the damage. 7 more Ultras as Serral is starting to spend that bank, which is still substantial. He can replenish when that lava gets up there again.
I think that fight was good enough in the end for Serral. He reset the entire air army count. Great use of those Infestors. All the abilities were used. Infested Terrans to push the army back. Fungo on top of the Void Rays to start weakening them up a little bit. And a couple of Neurals were thrown down as well. ShoWTime, he was able to stabilize with his reinforcements. I do think it's smart. We have a great Aspire, by the way. Like, if I'm ShoWTime right now, I don't make any more air units at all, as obviously these Corruptors are going to take care of these Stargates. Do we have a great Aspire? Because that would be very problematic. Okay, and now actually Serral could potentially go into Brood Lords, which would be the icing on the cake for the Zerg army.
Definitely. ShoWTime trying to replenish with whatever he can here. He's down quite a bit in army. The Corruptors are just destroying his production here. Blink Stalkers are quite nice against Corruptors, but they are not high enough in number. The Lings with Adrenal coming down here to try and get rid of this probe line and get rid of this Nexus. Charge Lots are in a lovely spot here. They can trade very nicely with these cannons to help out.
Yeah, they are, but these Lings are very, very, very feisty Lings. They're taking down cannons, they're taking down gateways, shield berries, and these Zealots, despite being in a very good spot, that's not even going to be enough. ShoWTimE is very, very broke. Does he have an army? Yes, but I mean, if there's no Brood Lords, I kind of believe, but there is no way that Serral is not going to make Brood Lords, right? Right?
Well, not yet. He's got 23 Corruptors, so he can definitely make a few.
I mean, if he makes Brood Lords, I don't think it's a winner. Okay, there we go. I mean, why would I ever question this young man?
Yeah, Serral's played Knifey Speed before. He's ready for this one. He knows exactly what to do. Man, almost a dozen Brood Lords going down here, and ShoWTimE does not have an answer for them. This army sucks against Brood Lords.
Yes, there's no other way to put it, Maynard. Sometimes it's best to be honest, but I mean, ShoWTimE didn't have much of a choice. He didn't have money to replace the Void Rays, to replace the carriers. I think he was just hoping that Serral would be the only Ultras and Zerglings and Queens, and maybe that he wouldn't do anything with the Corruptors, but ShoWTimE knows as well what's waiting for him in the dark, and he's got all the reasons right now to be afraid of the dark.
That's right, he's sort of being marooned in the top right here of this map with what he has left. He has a ton of Archons. This army looks very good against what Serral had before, but with this Broodlord count, now it's very, very different. He tags the Broodlords and sees them, and what can ShoWTimE do about it? He can't even afford a single Tempest. Don't even know if he has a Stargate left. They all got removed here by Serral by the looks of things, and that cannon line is his last line of defense.
It is one carrier that's going to have to get the job done as these Broodlords are getting closer and closer. Of course, going up the ramp with that ground army is very hard. Forward blink, okay, he gets one Broodlord, does some damage with the Storms as well.
Storms and the Archons are closing the distance here. Can Serral make magic? Well, can ShoWTimE make magic happen? Oh no, the Ultras at top lane are doing the job, I feel. And even with Neuraling a few of these very important Archons, ShoWTimE does not have much left here. Carrier going down. I think that might be it for the German as Serral takes 3-0 in the series.
What do you have to do to defeat this young man?
I have no idea. Ultra late game, not safe. Early game, not safe. Mid game, not safe. Serral has won every single iteration.
Serral has been looking absolutely untouchable throughout this weekend. He went 4-1 in his group, dropped one map to Demchar, then went 3-0 in the playoffs, went 3-0 again, dropped the map against Special, but now in this grand finals, Serral is just looking like a monster that we have rarely seen in a foreign scene. Besides Neep, of course, but...
Well, Serral is looking good, but ShoWTimE is not out yet. We're going to take a short break, and we will see if the German Protoss can come back. Do not go away.
Another early morning, huh?
Dad, I'm getting wrecked. Can't I buy some stronger units?
Buy units? Son, we don't talk like that in this house. Come with me. Your grandfather didn't give his life just so his grandson could pay money to be good at something.
But, Dad, Grandpa's still alive.
And your mother. She wanted to bring you into a world where you'd be judged by your elite skills, not by what you spend. Son, your family's legacy awaits.
Cool. Did you bedazzle Mom's engagement ring?
StarCraft 2, the legendary competitive game, is now free to play. Your legacy awaits at StarCraft2.com.
Is that my ring? If that thing's wrecked,
Guten Tag, Leipzig. We are back. The grand final is underway. But it is looking dire, Rotterdam. The elephant in the room here. We got Serral on screen. He is looking infallible. There's no chinks in his armor. What do you do?
Has only dropped 2 maps in his entire tournament, and after that last game, I honestly don't know what would be going through my mind if I was ShoWTimE on stage. The first game, it was like, you know, I think I could have done a couple things better. The second game, you feel like you're in an okay spot, and Serral was just playing out of this world for like 15 minutes. Oh, I almost felt like 15 minutes straight. Maybe it was 7, 8 minutes, just moving around so much. You're like, okay, well, now I know what I'm truly dealing with here. I'm gonna get everything together in game number 3. I think he had a good start in game 3. And I mean, it's crazy to think back about that one moment where he just moved out a little too far against those roaches, ravagers, and banelings in the middle of the map. If that doesn't happen, there's a good chance that that initial army of ShoWTimE carries a lot more momentum and can really make it a more difficult game for Serral. But at that point, you don't want to give up. You defend the wave, you're like, cool. You defend another wave, you're like, okay, really cool. You keep on defending, you're eventually like, hey, this is that army that's not supposed to lose, right? And yet, it feels almost like there is nothing you can do, where you're just pinned into the corner of your map. You're not allowed to see anything. You're holding on for dear life, and all you see is the swarm out there. It must be terrifying to go up against Serral.
Oh, man. So do you think maybe ShoWTimE, perhaps the key here is to whip out something a little bit unpredictable, a little bit weird?
I feel almost you may as well, if you're down 0-3, just go pretend like you're opening up with a Stargate, but then follow it up with like 12 adepts with resonating glaives and try to win the game. Will that work? I have absolutely no idea. It almost looks like nothing works. If Serral is really feeling it, I mean, in Barcelona, these two went up against each other as well in the group stage. And back then, ShoWTimE did win. He even took a 2-0 victory, but those games, Serral didn't look flawless, obviously, since he lost 0-2. But then in the playoffs, we already saw a different beast. The only maps that Serral played back then, or that he dropped in the playoffs, were against ShoWTimE. Every other series, he won either 3-0 or 4-0. And I mean, you look at him this tournament, he has dropped 2 maps to make it into this point. He's won 13 games, dropped 2 maps. And the way he's been playing in this grand final, I don't know, man. I am almost lost for words, but not totally yet, because we've got more StarCraft to cast.
We are. This kid is 9-0 in series. ShoWTimE is 9 in series, but Serral is looking to make it 9-1. In the bottom right here, he's going to need your energy. This is other teams, ShoWTimE! And in the top left of Catalyst, on match point, he looks so good. And if he wins, he certainly does deserve it. Give it up for Serral!
It's almost been a year that many of the European top players have considered Serral the best player in Europe. A year ago, when we had the Intox 3 Masters of Katowice back then, a lot of people said Serral is the man to look out for, and he wasn't really considered the best yet, even though he was high up on the ladder. But quite a few of the pros already said Serral is actually the best right now. And that was weird, because he didn't really have any big tournament results the year before. We hadn't really seen him offline, but he had a good run back then. He won his group, including going up against against 3 other Korean players, made it into the quarterfinals. Was a really good run. We expected a lot every single WCS stop. In Austin, it didn't really come to play yet, as he fell to special last year. Jan Chopping, he of course had a great run, but he fell against Neep in the final. And then Valencia and Montreal, it was PvZ that was the end for Serral. Often he did still make it into the quarterfinals or even the semifinals, but it wasn't what we expected. We all thought, if this guy is truly the best, shouldn't he be winning tournaments offline? Then he finally won in Barcelona a couple months ago. But there are always people who say, well, that was great, but that was a qualifier. That wasn't a WCS event. Right now, Serral is 1 map away from doing what everybody knew, I think, that he was capable of, but he just never did before.
When I looked at that top 4 with Special, ShoWTimE, Serral, and of course Neve, the multiple-time champion, I thought, you know what? This is not surprising at all. Last year when I saw Serral get to the 7th game against Neve and Jonsping, I was like, this kid's gonna win a WCS sooner rather than later. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen for Special. It's like almost certain if he keeps playing at that caliber, he is going to keep going deeper and deeper in these tournaments. And could this be Serral's time, or will ShoWTimE return to the stage, holding that trophy once more?
Stargate is going to be the opening of choice once again, but I honestly feel after those previous games, I feel like the way that ShoWTimE played in game 1 and 2, Serral seems very comfortable against that style. Of course, the main difference between what we saw of ShoWTimE going up against Serral and the other Zergs is that he hasn't really committed with any sort of his Warp Prism follow-ups. No Zealots, no Charge Warp in, just a little bit of poking, couple Zerglings, a Creep Tumor, and he's satisfied. Maybe that's also out of respect. I understand it. Maybe he just feels like, yeah, this works against, with all due respect, lesser Zergs, but I cannot do this against Serral. Serral's making a lot of links, by the way. That's a few more links.
Yeah, this wall-off's not complete for ShoWTimE, and he's going for Evolution Chambers. It looks like he might be going for some Ling drop play.
Well, I would love to see here from ShoWTimE, as long as he doesn't take too much damage of these Zerglings. No shield, oh my god, no shield battery yet. The Zergling speed is about to finish up. It's a lot of links. I hope that ShoWTimE is expecting something is up. But the single Adept doesn't have the damage output. The Oracle, of course, can help. Oh, I think he saw it. I think he can potentially drop a shield battery behind it or put the Stalker on hold position. ShoWTimE should realize that this is way more links than you normally see in this phase in the game.
And he certainly does. The Oracle's coming back and going to try and help out with this. Not using his laser beams just yet. He's trying to stay that empty. He's looking for the Dropper Lords, and he does see them. Double Dropper Lord play here from Serral. Phoenix coming out to help as well. That Overlord is quite low, but it is going to ferry in some links before it dies.
Yeah, actually, it drops a lot of links, and the other drop lord can still drop a few more links as well. But the Oracle has a lot of energy, though. I think this is a very clean hold so far by ShoWTimE.
Certainly looks like it, with the extra shield battery finishing in the front. The gateway unit's holding on. ShoWTimE is going to hold here against the Slingfly so far. All the side, of course, getting quite low, though.
Yeah, 5 seconds left on Warp Gate. Will it complete? I think it will. Shield battery could always heal it up a little bit as well, and it does. Warp Gate completes. ShoWTimE takes no economic damage at all.
What a hold there from ShoWTimE. 2 probes lost. Look at this investment from Serral. 13 lanes have gone down, nearly 1,000 minerals. He will look like he's going to get the Cyber Core, but there is still a full wall off. ShoWTimE has Warp Gate. That is the important upgrade here, but he can't warp in anything except for Zealots for a little bit.
Do you know what I love there as well? Is that ShoWTimE just dropped the Twilight console right before he lost the Cybernetics score. Didn't want to wait. If that wouldn't happen, it would be very hard for ShoWTimE to follow this up with any sort of aggression. Now he still has a quick Twilight. I assume that he's going to go for Resonating Glaives because he already has 4 Adepts. This is a perfect game to just make 12, 15, 16 Adepts and start shading. And as long as you don't shade into Banelings, you're going to be fine. But we actually see a Templar Archive, so maybe it's going to be Archon Zealot. Also fine. But he does need a robotics facility for that, though.
And he's going to have to get charged as well.
I would have liked to see Resonating Glaives, actually, but I guess it's going to be charged. And I mean, he's still going to do economic damage as well with these Adepts. Oh, excuse me, Oracles.
Yeah, drone's getting the damage done there. The Queen pulled out of the battle by that Viking. Oh, sorry, my Terran brain, I'm sorry. But getting that Phoenix to lift that Queen out of the battle. So Neve doing that. Great effect in this tournament so far. Charge starts here for ShoWTimE.
He still has 5 Adepts, which he could potentially just shade out with. Maybe he just wants to shade without Resonating Glaives. ShoWTimE knows that he's in an absolutely phenomenal position, and that all he has to do is just not make a silly mistake. Don't lose all of his units. Don't, obviously, don't be stuck on 2 bases forever. And what can Serral really do? Serral still doesn't have a layer. He's getting +1 melee. I almost feel that needs to get maybe a Baneling nest, but the problem against Banelings is that they're not very good. The problem with Banelings is that they are not good. I think that Serral is going to put a bunch of Queens in his Overlords and fly across the map and try to win with Ling, Queen, And that's about it. Just mass, mass links and queens.
I agree. And Overlord speed is starting as well, so it looks like it's going to be the play here for Serral. Like, he had a pretty dismal start here, does Serral, and also lost drones back at home, so he doesn't really have a strong footing at all into this mid game, whereas ShoWTimE's, he is holding all the keys here to this game so far.
ShoWTimE just needs to make sure that he's got a couple of Archons and a couple of Shield Barriers as well. First Dropper Lord is morphing. I think we're going to probably see 2 Dropper Lords. I don't know how many Queens Serral has, but I mean, normally this should not work. Not even if your name is Serral. 4 Queens, maybe he leaves 2 Queens at home, so it's just going to be a single Dropper Lord with 4 Queens and an insane amount of links. ShoWTimE is actually moving out. I would say it's unnecessary, but at the same time, he does have Archons.
And he does have charge as well, ready for these Zealots. And they are high enough in count, ready to attack. These Archons going to do tons of damage from the back. Bling's looking like they're going to try and go for a surround when the charge loss are on the front lines. Phoenix coming in, lifting out some of these Queens for the fight. One of those Stalkers on the outsides here. The Lings are getting surroundings on these units. The Archons, though, doing tons of damage to ShoWTimE. Does he have enough?
Without reinforcements, it's going to be tough. A couple of Protoss units are on the way, but Serral is going to clean up this army. Very good hold, but this is not everything. Serral now needs to kill ShoWTimE. There's no other option for Serral. But if there was hope for Serral, that hope has definitely increased a little bit. But there are still these Oracles. All that ShoWTimE needs to do is get shield batteries, a couple Archons, just warp in as many units as possible. But stop building probes, ShoWTimE. You're up 22 workers. You don't need any additional probes. You need units.
Yeah, it's just muscle memory here from ShoWTimE. No shield batteries here at this third base. Chargeless and Archons are in position, but the Dropper Lords are going to come into play here. Queen count getting up. Oh, the Lings looking for surround. ShoWTimE denies a lot of surface area, but the Lings are getting this surround on the right-hand side. Archons doing a lot on the left. The Ling count is rising. ShoWTimE desperately reinforcing. These Oracles need to come in and help, but the Queens are here for Serral to try and pick them up.
Is this happening? This should really not have been happening after the disastrous start for Serral. This was pretty much a lost game, but Serral refused to give up, and ShoWTimE giving the fight on his side of the map gave Serral a lot of hope, and Serral at least is going to kill this Nexus, and maybe from that point, Serral is just going to play a normal game.
Oh no, he's just making more and more Lings, getting Rage Upgrade, and also a Roach Warren as well. ShoWTimE going to try and knock out of this one, can make some more Archons here at the front. The Lings are coming in, and the Queens are looking for those Oracles. The Shield Battery's going to help out for a bit, but it doesn't have a lot of energy. This Immortal's been very, very important. This Gateway unit's holding at the front. One Archon goes down, the other one still survives. The Queens looking like they should go get taken out here in a second.
Yeah, the Oracle's doing a lot of damage there. Good job with the Prism as well, at least saving one of those Archons. Serral didn't kill the Nexus yet. And he just realized as well, he's like, oh my goodness, I better kill that Nexus.
I haven't done the dishes. I need to do the dishes. I haven't finished my chores yet. They're going on the Nexus. It looks like it will go down.
Yeah, I guess it'll go in the end. But still, he lost a few more links than he was supposed to link. Maybe now ShoWTimE can just build up an army of Archons and Immortals. And it still takes a long time for Serral to get a Hydra then. I mean, we had 3 games of ultra high level StarCraft. Dropper Lord in the main base as well. There is no shield battery here, but good warp in by ShoWTimE.
Yeah, keeps him out of that probe line. Oh, denial on this Nexus again here for Serral. He's killed the Nexus once, he's denied it twice with these Ling run buyers. He's turning this into a game. That's how good Serral is. He was down so far in this game, and he's turning this into a battle.
A really funky game here. A game that actually should have been over after ShoWTimE defended initially. But ShoWTimE expected Serral to transition, Serral to tech up, Serral to go into Hydralisk. So ShoWTimE was like, I'm just going to run across the map with Archons and Zealots, and I'm going to win. But Serral had barely any workers, but he had a lot of units. And Serral was thinking of fighting on ShoWTimE's side of the map against shield batteries. Instead, what he got was a fight on creep. And he's like, well, cool, I was pretty much out of this game, but I guess now I still got a shot.
Prism play happening here for ShoWTimE. He's going to try and go for a charge lot attack to get some harassment done. Looks like the third X is going to go up this time. But there's already Roaches out for Serral back at home, and he's going to have +1 with them as well when the Prism hits. So these Roaches are pretty good against charge loss already, but... and he sees that with the Overlord as well.
I mean, normally this is still a very good game for Protoss, though. Of course, ShoWTimE has to be careful, but as a Protoss, if you're going up to 4 bases, you've got Storm almost done, you've got Immortals out on the map, and you've got Archon, and the Zerg doesn't even have a Hydralisk then. Despite the fact that this became a lot scarier than it ever should have been, I still think this is a good game for our German Protoss.
Serral sees that Prism and he pulls in. We've got the Queen trying to take it out. That Prism should stay alive here for ShoWTimE to be very, very critical if he wants to go for an attack. And that's his only Prism on the map. He has Storm now. So these High Templar are pulling up energy. They're going to have Storms in the next fight.
I cannot believe that this is turning into a normal game. After all that madness, after the flawless hold early game by ShoWTimE, just losing 2 workers, that's technically nothing. Being up 15, 16 workers, and now suddenly we're looking at an 11-minute game with 4 bases and a Lurker then on the way. safe to say that we should have never found ourselves in this place, Maynard. But somehow we ended up here.
Maybe that counterattack from ShoWTimE a little bit presumptuous.
Yeah, a little overeager.
Just a little bit.
Oh, well. Oh, well. He's still in a very playable position, and I think that is an understatement. A lot of Zergs would probably look at this and say, like, oh, there's no way this is over, but I will refuse to call any game over that has Serral in it.
Yeah. I love that ShoWTimE's got double Immortal production as well. With +3 on the way, those Immortals going to hit hard. When he goes for the Lurker tech, if you have a big number of Immortals, it does not matter. Ooh, it's prisming a little bit deep there.
Yeah, these Zealots will not be able to accomplish much, but ShoWTimE keeps all of them alive, and that is the most important thing for him there. He gets his cannons already +3 attacks on the way as well for our Protoss, which is obviously great news for him. It's going to come down to Lurkers, but these Lurkers are going to have to be Turtle Lurkers for quite some time. There's no way that Serral can start being aggressive without Digging Claws. Not even Serral, Maynard.
Not even Serral. Oh, nice control from ShoWTimE, gets the tag off. Oracle lives. Serral is, you know, his creep spread was incredible in these games, but of course with this start of the game, creep spread not so incredible this time. So a lot of openings for ShoWTimE to attack into, and not a whole lot of incredibly defensive positions for Serral to pull back into either.
Nah, I mean, this has been a super funky game, and it's hard to have the creep spread that you normally have if 4 of your queens were in a drop alert on their way to the other side of the map, where they had a fierce battle with Oracles and Immortals. So we're going to forgive Serral for that one. We've got a couple of Zealots running around. Serral does have a bunch of Lurkers, and I think he may try to be aggressive, but ShoWTimE's army, I think, is going to be way too powerful. Oracle does live.
Does live. So 9 kills too. That's been an important Oracle in this game. Still producing 2 Immortals at once with +3 attack 3/4 of the way done here.
This is going to be like 10 Immortals or something, right? Yeah. These Roaches are going to have a very, very tough time.
Well, even the Lurkers, right? If the Immortals get on top of these Lurkers, they're going to get completely dissipated.
Almost everything. There are not many things for Zerg that are great against 10 Immortals, unless Lurkers are in a great position, or you get Brute Lords. But obviously, Brute Lords are nowhere near to be found. Serral is going to try to pull his army out of position a little bit. He might be able to split the Protoss forces up, but I think ShoWTimE is just going to engage into this. He's going to look at this like,
he's not afraid of that.
Cool, thanks for the great engagement.
Yeah, here come those Immortals here from the 4th base and the 3rd base. There's some Immortals as well. Massive storms all over these. Oh, man, that is a one-sided fight if I ever saw them already. That was a one-sided fight, and ShoWTimE takes a beautiful engagement here, and he's going to press the issue. He has still lots of units left over when those Archons got picked off, but it's, you know, not a big deal. Still so much left over. The Immortals are all still alive. +3 attack is done, and ShoWTimE's like, yep, counter-attack time, let's go.
That was quite funny. Serral thinks like, I'm going to split the forces up. ShoWTimE looks at it just like, no, this actually means that I'm going to get a great engagement. Thanks for setting up the arc for my army, you know, and he just F2A moved, and he just cleaned it up pretty much, dropped a couple great storms as well. Serral is going to be annoying here with a little bit of a Zergling run by, and we'll get a couple of kills, but
Oracle's
out of energy, yeah.
Well, that's really annoying here for ShoWTimE, but I don't think he should go home at all. I think this attack makes a lot of sense here. Still so many Immortals. Has Guardian Shield and that Sentry as well to help out if he has to. Archons, getting up there into the mix of things, and here come the storms from ShoWTimE's army.
I mean, these Archons actually kind of went down a little bit carelessly, but there are still so many storms remaining, and a lot of Immortals are still going strong. A few more Archons behind it, and I think that ShoWTimE has done it.
GG! He's down, but he is not out! ShoWTimE fights back. No 4-0s here today, Rotterdam.
No 4-0. ShoWTimE gets a much-needed win on the board. But, of course, this all goes back to the start, right? Serral did something that he did not do in the other 3 games. He went for a Link Flood, just like Nemchar did on Catalyst. Unfortunately for Serral, ShoWTimE has learned from his mistakes very quickly, made perfect adjustments, and I actually think that Serral maybe executed it a tiny bit sloppy, because he showed all the links in the front, you know? Well, not all of them, but he showed like 8, and at this level, you don't just have 8 Zerglings if there is no reason to have 8 Zerglings. So ShoWTimE was very cautious, and then obviously handled it the way you should. Perfect split up his army, temporarily a full wall up as well. Oracle did a great job in keeping track of the links. Phoenix took care of the drop alerts.
Man.
Made it a little more dicey than this game should have been when he went for that counterattack. But in the end, it didn't matter.
I was about to mention that counterattack. When ShoWTimE's Archons got cleaned up and the Zealots all died, I actually felt the blood drain from my face. I'm like, oh no.
That was it was a really good decision from ShoWTimE to just eventually kind of sacrifice his 3rd base. He looked at it, he's like, oh, this is what's going on. That means you have no tag. This means that you have no real economy either. Losing this Nexus is going to really sting, but I think if I survive on 2 bases and I get Archons and Immortals, I'm still going to be in good shape, especially because he saved the majority of his workers as well.
So Serral will still remain on match point for the rest of this series. Now ShoWTimE is looking to put the hurt back on this Finnish Zerg, who has looked so undefeatable. But he shows that even gods can bleed here.
Momentum is a real thing, though, in
Absolutely.
StarCraft 2 as well. We've seen quite a few swing-arounds. Just a couple of months ago, ShoWTimE was on the other side where he went up against Nurcho in the semifinals back then. He was up 2-0. Everything went fantastic. Game 3, a couple things went wrong, and before you knew it, Nurcho actually got the reverse sweep. So I'm sure that ShoWTimE is thinking back of a series like that every now and then, and if they can do it against him, why wouldn't he be able to do it?
Yes, indeed. And I think that your cheers might have helped him out a little bit. So how about one more time, Leipzig? In the bottom left here, from Armor Team, give it up for ShoWTimE! He mentioned he can hear the crowd when he wins, and it gives him so much power.
He looked really happy every time he was on stage as well, and talking to the audience. Over here on the right top side, the man that's still on championship point, hailing from Finland, it is Serral.
It's ShoWTimE. He is incredible. His PvZ incredible. Probably his best matchup, but damn. I just can't believe how much better Serral is than all of the Zergs that I've seen lately in all these tournaments.
It's so tough. So ShoWTimE has looked great in this matchup, and I really love the variety of build orders he has as well. And I know that sounds funny, coming from a man who watches him go 1 gate, Stargate, fast expand, but it's what he does after the Stargate. The Stargate, you should almost see that's a part of his gateway, you know, that's just what he spawns with, and after that, that's when he really starts mixing up his play. And he makes it hard for the Zergs, and the Stargate makes it extra hard as well, because there's always that Phoenix that takes care of these Overlords, and you just don't know. Is he having 3 gateways? Is it 4? Is it 6 gates? Is he rushing into Archons? Is it Resonating Glaives? Is it Zealots? Is he starting Immortal production immediately or not? He does switch it up a lot, despite the fact that he always opens up with a Stargate.
Well, I mean, it's worked out for him once, but didn't work out for him a few times in a row, unfortunately.
I mean, one of the reasons why the Stargate is so great, we've said it multiple times throughout this weekend, is that it's also a very, very, very safe opening. It's probably the safest of them all. It's good against almost any sort of a Zerg all-in early on. And that's why a lot of these pros players love opening up Stargate. And we saw it in the last game, right? It was a Link Flood, double Dropper Lord.
Yeah, if there was no Oracle, GG.
Yeah, of course. You know, if that was an Immortal instead of an Oracle, you can't kill those Dropper Lords. The Immortal is going to get surrounded with a Robotics Facility or even a Twilight Console. You just have a very tough time dealing with those builds.
Hope you're taking notes, all these Protosses at home. Get your Stargate friends.
We always take notes. Elephant brain.
Elephant brain. And they never forget.
No, of course not. That's the part of the whole elephant brain, Maynard.
I thought you just meant the size of the brain. You're saying the big brain Protosses.
Maybe a little bit of both.
All right, the Dev Shade coming in here. I'm just like, I'll let you hang with that one. Big shade there into the natural. And just having a look here. Not going to commit these Adepts, obviously, for no reason at all.
With 2 Adepts, every now and then, if you shade in and you see there's only like 2 or 4 links, you could potentially go for it, but there's no way ShoWTimE is going to go for it against 8 Zerglings. That would just mean that he's giving 2 Adepts away for almost nothing. That first Oracle is on the way. Very fast layer, wow, 3 minutes and 25 seconds. He didn't even know it was possible to get him that fast.
This might be a super quick Hydra Den here from Serral. It certainly looks like it.
Of course, ShoWTimE did drop this map in his quarterfinal, no, round of 16 up against Napchars. These Adepts do get caught in the middle of the map. I think that one is
this one lives
because of the Oracle, but now he already wasted the energy, right? Pulsar Beam is not for free. It costs 25 energy to activate it. So at this point, he can't really fly into the main base anymore, because the moment he activates it, he's going to be out of energy. So I think Serral was very happy with that trade regardless. He took down an Adept, and he wasted the energy of the Oracle.
Yeah, even still, though, he is getting those spores to deal with the second Oracle, which is on the way here for ShoWTimE.
I really want to see a Twilight Console. We already see it, and I want to see him just go Resonating Glaives and make 1 million gateways and go make a crazy amount of Adepts and just try to make something happen like that. Instead, it's going to be the Robo again. And the layer is so fast, though, that this is risky. This is very, very risky, I think, for ShoWTimE. You can pull this off against quite a few Zergs out there, but against Serral, I think it's going to be very tough to make it happen. But hopefully for ShoWTimE, he doesn't invest too much into it. But Serral is making units of an insanely low economy. Like, I think the 50, 51, 52 drone Hydra link timings are popular, but he's doing this on 43 drones at the moment. There's a good chance a couple of drones are going to go down. The Phoenix is going to fly in, and this Pork Run is going to have to work on the Oracle instead.
The Oracles all live and 4 drones go down there. Nicely done by ShoWTimE. There's going to be some Prison Archon play. Just what ShoWTimE's been doing pretty much every single game here. Prism with Archon, dropping down those gateways for the reinforcement. And there's a lot of gateways for 2 bases, but...
Yeah, I mean, it could potentially work. It really comes down to the engagements, of course. It comes down to where the Hydras are. If the Hydras are in a ball, they have very high DPS. If they're going to be exposed and the Zealots can get a lot of surface area, the Zealots can get the job done. I think opposite of game 1 and 2, there is a good chance that ShoWTimE will not just go with 2 Archons, but he's actually going to warp in some Zealots as well. But at the same time, he's also getting Storm, and obviously that's a defensive play. He's going to have to be so careful with this Prism, Maynard. If this Prism would fall against these super fast Hydras, that is the beginning of the end.
Yeah. Muscular augments on the way here for Serral. Oh, Lurkaden already, immediately for Serral when that Hydra end finishes.
That's so crazy. Yeah. Serral is very low on the drone department in this game.
Drones.
45. I mean, we saw some of the other games as well. They had close to 58 workers in this phase in the game. Serral is making a lot of units, which is why I'm a tiny bit confused by the lurkers, but I guess he's just doing everything of 45 drones.
No, ShoWTimE hasn't spotted it just yet.
There's no Prism this game, is there?
Not yet.
Oh, right bottom. Oh, he's going Storm
Except
drop?
for that one.
It's a Storm drop.
Oh, yes, loaded up with High Templar. Storm 3/4 of the way done.
I mean, could potentially work. The problem is there aren't that many drones to storm. Serral really doesn't have that many. We've got, like, if you storm drop this, it's only 8 drones, and you're not going to get all 8 of them. Oh, Serral just, no.
Oh, he sees the Hydra and pulls back. Safety first, ShoWTimE. So at the stasis ward, catching some of the Lings here. The Chargeless doing the rest. They're going to go down.
So the Immorticon is going to be very important. ShoWTimE drops a 4. ShoWTimE is up 9 workers. That is not standard at all. It is very safe to say that Serral is going to attack as soon as he just has a couple of lurkers. ShoWTimE is going to try his luck one more time with a Storm drop. Can he get close enough?
Still there. Howdy, neighbor. Ooh, that one on Mortal's getting out here. It was blocked a little bit in the natural, but it's charged a lot. I mean, this is actually quite a nice army for ShoWTimE when the energy's out.
Yep, and don't forget about those Oracles. He can tag the lurkers, he can drop a stasis ward or 2 as well. The Prism is actually going to go home. I think that ShoWTimE kind of knows. I think ShoWTimE has put 2 and 2 together with all the things that he has seen this game. Of course, Serral is Lings. No.
Oh, wow. I think, yeah. Does get rid of pretty much all the Lings, but...
Cute, but yeah, I think those Storms could have potentially achieved a tiny bit more if they would land in the middle of the pack of the Hydras or these Lurkers. Serral is very, very committed to this attack. This is not the type of attack where Serral can do a little bit of damage and go home. No, he wants to do serious amounts of damage. He wants to at least take out the base or just take out the army or straight up win the game. ShoWTimE is going up to 4 bases. He doesn't need that. No, he needs to cancel that Nexus.
Maybe not reading this correctly just yet. He sees it now. Big Storm's going down the Lurkers, so they're very, very damaged. The Immortal count is not super high, though. And he's High Templar. Oh, massive catch on that stasis ward. The Lings are wrapping around the High Templar. The Lurker's getting right up in his face.
Yeah, a lot of the Hydras have gone down, though, but the Lurkers are all chilling here. Most of them have been revealed by Revelation. ShoWTimE just take him out.
He's holding on. Oh, man, he doesn't have detection. There we go. Another tag there to get rid of these last couple of Lurkers. The Immortals are still alive, and they're still getting the job done. The Chargelot's tanking them as well.
A lot of high HP units remain for ShoWTimE. He takes care of almost all the Lurkers. That Immortal lives, and ShoWTimE has successfully defended.
And he is in a massively wonderful spot right now, up 20 workers, and the ability to replenish his army is very, very easy. He has a lot of production. He has +1 attack about to finish as well, so his Chargelots are going to be, and the Archons and Immortals will be a lot stronger. Stasis Ward's coming in clutch for him as well during that fight. And what does Serral do at this point? He can deny this Nexus, which is nice. But how does he finish ShoWTimE off?
ShoWTimE, Serral's still making units. He's still not building any additional work. It is 45 drones against 64 probes. Every second that goes by is a great one for our German Protoss.
Trying to bait it and set off a stasis trap there, but doesn't quite find it.
He's even harassing on the top side of the map with a bunch of Zealots.
Yeah, Serral's got all these units on the other side of the map by the looks of things.
That's cancel number 3, I think.
Doesn't really matter. And ShoWTime's Chargeless going to catch some of these reinforcements when Hydra goes down. He's going into the mineral line.
And these are +1 Zealots, by the way, Maynard. So just Zerglings are going to have a very tough time dealing with these Zealots. A couple of Hydras are going to help out as well. But ShoWTime knows that he's buying time. This means another Immortal for the next fight. Perhaps an additional Archon as well. ShoWTime's giving up. He's like, you know what? If I'm not allowed to expand on the right side, I'll expand on the left top side.
Yeah, he's like, fine, you have it. I'll just go over here. No problem. Oh man, +2 is on the way for ShoWTime. He's getting stronger and stronger, growing further and further out of control here. Powering on these 3 Nexi. Serral's just pumping out units on 3 hatcheries. I think that he's just running out of options here. I don't see this game going a whole lot longer for him if he doesn't finish off ShoWTime very, very quickly.
I think he hopes for a similar scenario of last game where ShoWTime makes an attack that he doesn't really have to make.
Oh,
that is a massive warp-in.
And he can afford it too. These Zealots going down, no big deal, but the hatchery going down for Serral would certainly suck. That's a lot of his production. These Zealots with their upgrades going to do a lot. And Serral's just like, all right, I'm going to go for it right here, right now. Lots of storms in favor of ShoWTime and the Archons at the front though. Can Serral get it done? Or will ShoWTime hold on?
So many storms, shield batteries, Archons and Immortals. The Hydra count is quite high. ShoWTime could definitely use a couple of Zealots, but these storms are magnificent. And I think that this is the end for Serral in game number 5. ShoWTime will defend.
GG! Momentum! Momentum, baby. You were talking about it, Rotterdam, and it is happening. It is real. ShoWTime, 2 map wins in a row. If he gets a 3rd, we can go to the ace match, and that's certainly what he's got his sights set on now.
It makes you wonder, right? We're just seeing a different Serral in game 4 and 5. We saw the link flood, and we're like, okay, he's up 3-0. Maybe he decided to get a little cheeky, want to get the job done early. But this game felt a little bit odd to me. I think these certain Hydra link timings can be good. Even very fast lurkers can be good. But his economy was really quite weak. And with the way that ShoWTime does it, with the Phoenix and the double Oracle, getting some additional drone kills, those drone kills hurt extra much because it delays the attack as well. And every second that went by was just a great second for ShoWTime. And he was so confident. He was going up to 4 bases all the time. He's like, you know, I know you're about to attack me, but I still want to have 4 bases. He was up 20 workers, Maynard. He really didn't need that 4th base.
Not at all. And ShoWTime reading that one quite well, reacting quite nicely. Tons of Hydras, but also tons of Storms, and that's all he needed in that defensive position. And Serral's been very impatient and very aggressive in the last couple games. A solid macro late game Serral that we saw in the first 3 games of this series, not really being shown here. Serral's like maybe getting a little cocky, maybe a little confident, maybe a little weary. A lot of things could be coming in here into the series. It's been quite a few games so far.
I think the link flood loss was not a very big deal because he was up 3-0, and then you obviously know what kind of a game that is. He tried to end it, didn't work out, no biggie. But I think that game on Blackpink, that must sting a little bit. There's a reason why he went for that attack, but ShoWTime successfully defended. And now suddenly, you know, it's 2-3. Like we said, momentum is a very real thing in StarCraft 2. We're loading into Acid Plant, a map where we've seen ShoWTime play a couple of great games already against Zerg on this map as well. I'm ready, Maynard. My body's ready.
And so is mine, Rotterdam. Let's get into it. What do you say, Leipzig? One more time? In the top left here, from Armor Team, give it up for ShoWTime!
On the right bottom side, we're looking at the main base of the Finnish Zerg. Still on championship point, but perhaps getting a little sweaty right now. It is Serral.
Palms sweaty, but hopefully no bump spaghetti falling out of those pockets. Just playing solid, going back to his old comfortable and calm composure here. Could be the ticket for Serral to get the 4-2.
I have the feeling this is a decent map for ShoWTime though, even though going up to 3 bases can be a tiny bit tricky. But Protoss players these days with their Stargate, they are so good in securing that 3rd base that often the 4th base is a little bit more important. Now obviously if you would attack all the way via the right side or the middle of the ramp, there's a lot of good spots for lurkers, don't get me wrong. But what I've seen from ShoWTime so far on this map, it has kind of convinced me, Maynard. To me, it felt solid, it felt really good. And of course, you know, because it's such a large map, that also means that it's an amazing map for War Prisms, because Zerg units actually have to run, while Protoss units, they appear out of nowhere.
Last ShoWTime game I saw in here was against Namshar, I believe, and he looked extremely strong. Played this map very comfortably. Looks like a bit of a stomping ground for him, actually.
Yeah, he even handled the big drops in the main base quite well as well.
Yep, not so much on back order, but definitely on Acid Plant. And he's just gearing up for a wall left. The stuff looks pretty standard for ShoWTime here. Kind of just expecting blindly the Stargate play again. Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I'd be very shocked if after opening up with a Stargate like 15 times, you know, with his tournament live on the line, he's going to be like, nah, you know what? Go for a good old robo opening. Let's see where this takes me. No, that would be very shocking. The Stargate just makes a lot of sense. It's just good against all lanes. It's good to do a little bit of damage. You always get some indirect damage done as well. You can force out the Spore Crawlers. And once again, this is just part of his opening build order. And this is where the game truly starts for ShoWTime. It's like, all right, everything is normal. Your opening is normal. My opening is normal. From this point on, we're going to execute. And of course, you know, we're going to determine our follow-ups.
So here's the third base location for Serral. ShoWTime's probe trying to get in position to block that. Or rather, not actually trying, just trying to live against these lings.
And of course, for the people who wonder, why did we see different openings in the past? You know, why was Twilight very popular, or why was Robo opening popular for a while? It has a lot to do with the Mothership Core as well. The Mothership Core is just a very useful unit to fall back on, to defend those early all-ins. Well, it's pretty fast Overlord speed, but this is a massive map, so I think it makes a lot of sense to go for Overlord speed here. Brings us back to Neon Violet Square, also a very big map. Serral scouting is still incredibly good. The last two games, it didn't really matter that much because he was kind of set in his ways of what he wanted to do. Yeah. But in a straight-up game where he's just trying to drone up, or he's trying to macro up, obviously scouting is very important. Keep track of that prism, know how many gateways there are. Is he chrono boosting out charge, or perhaps, you know, another upgrade of the Twilight console? And with Overlord speed, Serral's going to be able to keep track of those things.
And with Overlord speed, it kind of makes me think that he's going to go into the later game here. Like, he wants to continuously keep alive these Overlords and keep tabs on the tech of ShoWTime and what he's up to in the later stages. You know, where's that third Nexus at? What's down at it before I attack into it? That sort of thing. Spore Crawl's going down for Serral to make sure that he doesn't take damage from the Oracles.
The Spore should be in time, even the one in the main base. Now, the big question is, can ShoWTime get a tiny bit lucky here? Can he find 3 kills? I love this with the Queen. This is when you know that Serral is obviously on point. Does quite a bit of damage. Nope, not a single drone kill. Yeah, that's how you defend against an Oracle.
That's right. Just takes damage on that Oracle, but no drones done at all. Down goes the Overlord here, so the Phoenix getting the job done. Twilight count's going down with the Robo. This is your regular ShoWTime build. No beats have been missed.
Additional gateways on the way as well. Expecting charge, even though I would still... I guess it's just very risky to do it in a grand final. He done it a lot in the past, where he opened up with a Stargate and then he would make a bunch of adepts and resonating glaives, but I think tournament live on the line, and this map is very large. I think those builds would have maybe been better on a map the size of like Odyssey, you know, where if you shade twice, you're on the other side of the map. This time we're just gonna see the Prism, probably a couple of Archons as well. We do see a Roach Warren for Serral. That almost gives me the idea that he's perhaps a tiny bit worried about some crazy War Prism play. There are some weird Protoss all-ins where they open up with a Stargate, pretend they go to 3 bases, but actually they've got a Prism, a Twilight, and 8 gateways in their main. And then if you go straight into Hydras, that can be a little bit difficult to defend.
Nice little hold there on that probe for ShoWTime. Gets the third Nexus up without too many problems. Even Trooper coming down here, but I think it's just for upgrades, because it is that point in the game where he has to be heading into the upgrades if he wants to go later on. I think there might be a Hydra Den as well down here to go down with the Roaches, with Roaches to be the tanky units. Ling's actually getting made as well, so perhaps not.
Of course, the winner of this tournament will walk away with $20,000. But perhaps even more important, Maynard, that direct seed into the WCS Global Finals at the end of the year. Haven't really mentioned it yet, but that has not changed from last year. If you win a circuit event, you will make an appearance at those Global Finals.
So Serral's going to try and make it happen here with Roach Ravagers and a bunch of Lings. War Prism is out for ShoWTime, and he's going to try and get aggressive. A run by here from Serral into the third Nexus while ShoWTime tries to attack. Those Roaches are going to be quite tanky.
Roaches are excellent, of course, against Zelos. They can just kite them for days, especially on creep. Even if you don't have Roach speed yet, gonna be a little bit tricky, but as long as the Roaches kite properly, the Queens do go down very quickly, though. But ShoWTime should look at this and probably be a little bit worried, especially with all these additional Roaches on the way.
Yeah, certainly. If he gets cleaned up here, a big counterattack could spell doom for ShoWTime. The Archons are still alive. He can get them up into the Prism if he has to, and that's going to be the most important units he needs to save here.
This was not, I think, the damage that ShoWTime was hoping for. I think he made a good point there. Serral could potentially just make nothing but units. Instead, ShoWTime is going to try to buy a little bit of time for himself, drop a couple of Archons in the main base, gets the Roach. You know, even though ShoWTime didn't do much economic damage, he did a lot of indirect economic damage because he forced out a lot of Roaches. But since this is such a large map, what are these roaches really going to do in the near immediate future for Serral? Not much, really. I mean, obviously he's going to try, but with Archons and with Immortals on the way, a couple of additional Archons, I actually think Serral has to be a little bit careful here, because these Archons could potentially take care of almost all of these roaches.
Oh man, a bit of leapfrog tactics with these Archons to chase down the roaches. Cute micro here from ShoWTimE is working out. The natural though, under siege here, he needs to get those Archons home. Quick smart, maybe even a recall. This is a lot of potential damage for Serral. That one pylon powering quite a bit.
Doesn't have energy, so this Immortal is going to be very important. The Lynx are going to try to actually take care of this Immortal. This is very annoying. Wow, ShoWTimE is taking a lot of economic damage. Serral's like, yeah, cute move with the Archons and all, but let me just attack you on a different side of the map. And in the face of the game where the roaches weren't supposed to do much, they are doing almost everything.
And they've depowered a lot of production here at ShoWTimE, including the replotting facility. No more Immortals for a while. There's roaches in the third, there's roaches in the natural, there's roaches in the main. ShoWTimE brought thin here. His unit count's not very high at all.
He is still sort of defending, but he's of course taking a lot of economic damage. 17 pros have already gone down. I don't think Serral is done yet. Serral is taking a 40 supply advantage. Now, at least ShoWTimE will be able to take care of all of these roaches, but he's down 30 workers. What do you do right now? Do you run across the map and try to win? This map is so large that by the time I think you arrive, you're going to go up against so many Hydras. I think ShoWTimE just has to accept that this was a very bitter pill to swallow. And it almost felt that Serral tricked him into it, right? It's like, hey, here are my roaches all the way on the right side. And ShoWTimE gets so carried away and like leapfrogging with those Archons, and it looks super cool, and suddenly, well, surprise, here is 30-40 supply of Zerg in your natural.
Roaches are not very good in a stand-up fight against an army like what ShoWTimE has, but when they're split up in several places at once, hitting in 3 places at once, absolutely they can do the damage output there. Prism play from ShoWTimE, and Vinny gets a bunch of economic damage, or, you know, slows down Serral a little bit with these Archons in the Prism, then cool. Maybe you can come back into it that way. But there's Hydras already out for Serral, and it's very, very tough for this War Prism to find an angle now.
Yep, one Prism taking a little bit of damage. You can't go too deep either, because if you can't go home with that Prism, if you lose 2 Archons after taking all that economic damage, you're just not going to have enough at home. Is there hope? Yes, of course, there is still a little bit of hope. There is stasis wards, there are Immortals out on the map, and Lurkers, if you don't have Digging Claws, you can almost absolutely attack with them, but it's a little bit harder, and it all takes a little bit longer. Oh, that could potentially be the biggest stasis ward of this series so far. No, it's
maybe not.
That was really great, guys.
Wow.
Serral's just too good.
Yeah, he certainly is.
The things you see in almost every other game just don't apply to this man. You look at it and you're like, that could be the break that ShoWTimE needs.
Oh no! That is devastating for ShoWTimE. There goes the Prism, there goes 2 Archons.
Oh my. The stasis didn't work out. The Prism goes down with 2 Archons in it as well. We already have Lurkers on the way. There are a couple of Storms available. Storm has finished up. But Storm alone against Lurkers, you need the Immortals as well. If ShoWTimE had the extra Archons here, I would have maybe perhaps sort of believed, but in the last minute, almost everything went wrong for ShoWTimE.
A good chunk of the army supply of ShoWTimE is completely out of position here, going around the outside of this map. He is whooping in charge loss in the natural. He does have 3 Immortals here at that Nexus. That's quite a good number of Immortals, but these Lurkers are body blocking him out of defending this natural. They're still forced.
Good defense so far, though.
Yeah.
Immortal in the natural there as well. Lurkers are a little bit exposed. ShoWTimE is going to try to jump on top of it.
He's going for a sandwich here. The Archons catching a bunch of these Hydras on the outside. Some of the Lurkers dying, and the charge slots to the front as well. Does ShoWTimE clean him up?
Can he save a couple of his Immortals? One of them did go down, but as long as he saves these Archons and Immortals, one Archon is super low on HP as well. Look at the Archon on the left side, also low on HP. Great micro there by ShoWTimE, and he's still in it, Maynard.
He holds on. His pro count looking a little bit more healthier now. He's up to 60 on 3 Nexus. Of course, Serral is still in charge here. 4 bases, 80 drones, a lot of army supply, remaking all of these roaches, these Lurkers coming back into the fight as well. ShoWTimE took a lot of damage, but that was definitely a great trade.
Yeah, this, especially after losing that Prism and the 2 Archons inside of it as well. 4th base is not going to happen just yet. ShoWTimE still down quite a bit in army supply. Infestation Pit is down on the other side of the map. Serral is going to take up. Serral obviously still in a big lead in this game. But perhaps ShoWTimE can make some magic happen like he's done so many times in the past.
He tried to get those cannons up, but Serral hit before they could finish. He cancels them. He's got a couple of Immortals here, fighting some roaches, and I think they need to be here in this fight at the moment. Storms are going down. These Hydras are getting quite bruised. There's one Archon going to go down immediately. A very scary push from Serral, who is approaching maxed out.
Gotta be very careful. Those storms are massive though, connecting with the Hydras as well, but the spread on the Lurkers is great. ShoWTimE needs to go. He cannot afford to lose the Nexus.
And here we go. It's this time of ShoWTimE. He has to get up there into that Lurker number and take them out. He does get rid of the Lurkers actually, and he is going to clean this up, but 13 probes go down, and there is no fourth Nexus at the end of this either.
These roaches not going to do much either with the Immortals. Come on, Immortal, do your job. Yeah,
he had one job, mate.
Not a great hold by ShoWTimE, but if you thought the backwater holds were nice, but perhaps not enough, ShoWTimE is still in a rough spot, right? He still lost a lot of workers again there against those Lurkers. The Nexus took a lot of damage. His fourth base is very late, while Serral is going up towards the Hive. The only thing that Serral is missing, I think, is the Spire, which is very good news, because ShoWTimE would not have been ready to deal with Broodlords in the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, he's been doing very, very nicely against this Lurker
close,
play.
I guess, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Then it's still going to be very scary. As the layer, or excuse me, the Hive has just finished up. Serral's probably just going to make a lot of Lurkers and just run them in and burrow on top of this Protoss army.
No Legacy here in this attack. This Nexus is still quite low, so Serral trying to do some damage here, doesn't quite find it. ShoWTimE likewise trying to get some damage done across the map, but doesn't find it either. So it's all about ShoWTimE getting this fourth Nexus up. Creep Spread is already here, so Serral does see it.
A little bit surprised about Serral getting +1 carapace now after the Hive is finished up, and he hasn't done anything else with his Hive.
All the Archons and Immortals are down here, and Serral feels like maybe he can go for another attack on the third. Oh, and a big cluster of Lings in the middle by the looks of it as well.
Good split there. A couple storms. Do not have enough energy. He does morph it into an Archon at least.
Big tag there. Gets detection on all those Lurkers, but gets body blocked away from the Lurker line. Pushed back into that fourth Nexus. It's ShoWTimE. Serral reinforcing with a ton of units. Is this it?
Other units coming in from the south side. The Lurkers separating a couple of these units as well.
GG! Crack! And Serral is going to be the first ever WCS champion for the 2018 season. Well played and well deserved. We all knew last year that Serral was just a matter of time for him to win the big one. And he has got a seat already at the global playoffs after a beautiful CVP series.
That young man has finally done it. He can finally hold his WCS trophy.
Everything that was said about him is true. It has come to fruition. Serral, his tournament life has come down to this. Holds the trophy aloft as fans here in Leipzig. ShoWTimE put up a valiant effort, a great fight. The last couple games of that series, that last game, some incredible holds. But Serral just too powerful in the end.
Especially think the Eastwatch game was beautiful. Backwater was absolutely amazing for us as well. And then it still got a little bit shaky with 2 games. ShoWTimE doing something back, but in the end, Serral was the best player in this tournament. Phenomenal run for him, only dropping 4 maps on his way to his first big WCS victory.
And it's time to go to the stage with Anna and our first WCS champion, Serral.
I am here with Serral, guys. Congratulations. You are now the first WCS Circuit champion for 2018. How does it feel to hear that title for you?
It feels great. I have been waiting for this for so long, and now it happened, so it kind of feels unbelievable right now.
It's still sinking in, and also, you have now qualified for the global finals. Tell us about your plans. What can we look forward to from you this year?
I will try my hardest to play in every single tournament, and I'm gonna try to get more of those trophies, and yeah.
We know you will, and I know there are a lot of people out here at home and in the audience who are watching you thinking, I want to learn from that person, that's someone I look up to. What do you want to say to all of your fans and all those who are believing in you?
Thanks for believing me for all this time, and let's win some more.
Let's win some more. Hear it one more time for your champion. Serral is your 2018 WCS First Circuit champion. And now, Serral, you know we have a tradition around here. Where's Mark? He has the final boss to bring you. This has been WCS Leipzig. Thank you and good night.
It doesn't get any better than this, ladies and gentlemen. Your 2018 WCS Leipzig champion, Serral. After an amazing series, taking an early lead against ShoWTimE and giving a little bit of ground towards the end, he managed to close things out with precision, viciousness, and skill.
That was a ridiculous grand finals, Nathanias. That game 3 and 4, I couldn't believe what I was watching. These guys went at it. We had a very long game that was amazing, and Serral is just on another level right now. It feels like eventually, like ShoWTimE brought it back. He won 2 maps, but Serral, even in the games that he lost, he made it so hard for ShoWTimE to actually win those. Yeah. It's just incredible.
I don't know what else to say except that he does seem to be with all the strengths, barely any weaknesses. The only weakness he seemed to show was that when he did an all-in, ShoWTimE, that's his strength. It's defending against an all-in, so that made sense. And perhaps that were the 2 games that he gave away, but otherwise he looks unbeatable.
The only weakness, the champagne with a self-inflicted defeat. I believe he sprayed himself in the eye here for a second. But yeah, Serral, our first player to be going to the global finals. And he fell short last year. He actually lost to Innovation and Gumio in the group stage. No shame in that, but I feel like with the improvements that he showed here, and with it only being the start of the year, if he keeps going like this, that guy will give some of these Korean players a serious run for their money. If
he keeps this trajectory, we should be seeing a lot more success out of Serral over the course of 2018. An amazing final. As you said, perhaps only losing to that champagne bottle. His ability to play the late game was just amazing, just phenomenal. Going toe-to-toe, I think that backwater game, they completely mined out one of the biggest maps that we have added in the pool. And also had to give some credit to ShoWTimE for really hanging in there, but man, he had one hell of an opponent to go against.
Yeah, after being down the way he was down, it's very hard to even come back and win a single map. He actually managed to win 2, so ShoWTimE, I mean, I feel like this shows good things for him and for his future. You know, like last year, we keep talking about how he had a difficult year. Now, that's already quite a bit better. Like, he took a 2nd place. He gets a lot of points already for the WCS race, and I'm sure he's going to be back strong once again for our next stop, which I believe is Austin.
Yep, and we're going to take another look, of course, at the circuit map setup here for the World Championship Series. This was only the first of 4 events that we'll be doing on the circuit tour around the world. Your first champion, of course, is Serral, and he will be joined by 3 other gentlemen in the global finals with direct seeds from winning these tournaments. We'll be going to Austin, then Valencia, and Montreal throughout the course of 2018. Of course, don't forget, before we go to Austin, there will still be some WCS Challenger matches happening where points will be earned by these players. And on the other side of things, in the Korean scene, GSL Season 1 still going on, as well as many other tournaments to look forward to, the Intel Extreme Masters at Pyeongchang and Katowice. There's a lot of StarCraft to follow. There's a lot coming up. Anything you guys are particularly excited for?
Honestly, just seeing these guys compete throughout the entire year after the little, teaser that we got here, after the small sample of game at the end of the day that we got from this one WCS Circuit tournament. I cannot wait. I'm already salivating for the next few stops because it's gonna keep on going and those games are gonna keep on getting better. Like that top 4 today really embodies the hard work of all of these guys training day in, day out because they played some amazing games.
We don't have to wait very long for our next huge tournament, so that's what I'm the most excited about. Basically next weekend, starting things off, continuing things off, I suppose, is Leipzig being first of the stops.
That's right. There's a lot to look forward to in the StarCraft 2 world, and we want to thank all of you for tuning in here in Leipzig and online around the world. Thank you so much for your continued support for StarCraft 2 and StarCraft Esports. We will see you guys in Austin for the continuation of the World Championship Series circuit.